This guy is our main character, a person who was once despised, chained by the neck like a wild beast that no one cared about. But no one expected that what they were suppressing was not a weakling, but a nightmare waiting to awaken. He is not human, but a demon with martial arts that are unrivaled under the heavens. He is so strong that even if his body is sliced in two in just the blink of an eye, he becomes whole again as if he was never injured, having his stomach punched through a fist piercing his body. But before he can even feel the pain, the wound has already healed itself. Even when blown to pieces, he still walks out from the ashes as if death never existed. Enemies standing before him don't know whether to feel fear or despair, because he just needs to raise his fist, and the opponent is instantly sent to the afterlife. If he draws his sword, the enemy kicks the bucket before understanding what happened. And okay, no more rambling, let's get started right away. According to a legend passed down in the martial arts world, the spirit of a grandmaster who grasped the truth of the world and was about to reach the peak is said to seek someone to inherit the great mission they left unfinished and lead that person to the peak. The young successor and next leader of the fire dragon sect Baxash, like many others, thought it was just a nonsensical story. But only when a spirit from that legend chose him did he truly gain unparalleled power in his hands. No one could defeat him, and it was certain that he could rise to the peak of this world. But in reality, after years of bloodshed and horrific experiments in search of immortality, the spirit stopped guiding him and turned him into a miserable old man. He wondered why the master's spirit stopped guiding him, but he could never find the answer to this question. Suddenly, a disciple of his ran to the palace with good news that they had succeeded. He brought a test subject and the elixir of immortality he created. This test subject was also the first to survive after dozens of previous experiments, a miserable child who had turned into a real monster, but the child's reason and memories were not lost. The child kept cursing at them, "You destroyed me and my family, I will never forgive you." Of course, that disciple only saw the child as trash with no human rights. He glared down, tightened the rope around the neck, and shouted, "Shut up! Who gave you the right to speak here, you outsider?" Then he looked up at his master, gloating about his experiment. "Do you see, unlike other subjects, this one can even communicate? And this test subject can live for weeks without a drop of water or a grain of food." Although old Baxash was not impressed with the result his disciple achieved. Baxash slowly stood up, gritting his teeth in frustration. "Enough I have endured for many years to achieve results. But all you created is a twisted monster. Truly fools like you can never truly reach the peak." Seeing his master's demeanor, the disciple was terrified. Sweat started to appear on his face as he stammered and begged, "No, just a little more time, please." Looking at the frail form of his master, who was coughing incessantly, the disciple exclaimed, "I will complete the immortality experiment." But Baxash didn't want to wait any longer. With the help of magic, he began forcing the disciple to drink the potion he had created. He panicked and exclaimed in fear, "What is happening? My hand is moving on its own." After drinking the whole bottle, the disciple turned into an ugly monster. Like all the monsters he had created before, his mouth still begging, "Master, please spare me." Baxash himself wasn't doing much better. The old man kept coughing incessantly, to the point that his whole hand was covered in blood. In his head there was only one question: why does that spirit no longer answer me? Baxash knew that the spirit was still here, still deep inside his body. With a face full of ambitious agony, he looked up at the sky and lamented, "Now reveal the secret of immortality, the immortal body skill." And this time the spirit appeared, but not as Baxash expected. The spirit scolded him, "You are so stupid, Baxash. The immortal body is already complete." Suddenly, the thirst for revenge of the tortured child rushed towards Baxash from behind, with an intense killing intent, but Baxash was not someone easily touched. He immediately turned around with a powerful expression, raising his hand with sharp claws to counterattack. His mind was racing. He couldn't believe what was happening and hastily exclaimed, "After all these years, instead of choosing me, you chose this person as a vessel. Even though I completed everything for you, including that great mission, you still dare to betray me." But the spirit didn't think so. It replied, "You say the great mission is complete, but you still don't see the truth of the world. How pitiful. Then let me show it to you, Baxash." Unable to believe what was happening before his eyes, looking down at his trembling hands, he hastily exclaimed in fear, Is this the truth of the world? Is this all my power amounts to?" Meanwhile, the child had gotten very close to him, clutching a knife in hand, and a streak of blood splattered. That child completed his revenge with consecutive stabs full of hatred. Baxash lay sprawling in a pool of blood. At this moment, the spirit said to the child, "Do you hate this world for destroying your family? Then let me take care of that." Meanwhile, outside the palace, the members of the old man's sect sensed the danger coming from the palace. They were constantly in panic as plumes of crimson blood energy were rising up. After seeing the master's body lying on the ground and the killer sitting right next to it, they rushed in with angry faces determined to destroy that child. The spirit kept urging the child, "In return, you must crush every stronghold in this world and obtain their power. Do not let anyone or anything stand above you, and when that day comes, we will reach the peak once again." Exeun's entire sect was wiped out. Not a single sword could pierce this child. A man wearing a straw hat walking on this desolate road is a great man with the title of Sword Emperor. Sure, the title sounds impressive, but he is not completely invincible. He is on his way to a place called the Fire Dragon Sect. Opening the door to the mansion, he greeted them, "Long time no see, everyone." A man with long scars on his face. Fist King Yuki looked up and replied, "Indeed, Elder." The Northern Queen Jin Seohai thought to herself, what they even summoned that elder. The Shaolin Abbot Haiyan clasped his hands in greeting with a look that wasn't very surprised. A man named Baek Murio, leader of the Fire Dragon sect, spoke politely. "Greetings, Sword Emperor. I trust everything has been well with you." The Sword Emperor returned the greeting and replied, "Enough with the nonsense. Do you think I didn't notice the spies following me since I left the martial world? So quickly explain why you summoned this old man." Baek Murio quickly looked up and replied, Very well. Then I will skip the formalities and focus on the main topic. Wudang Zhongnan Mount Hua and countless other famous sects have been destroyed by a single expert. We know nothing of his motives or identity, but those who faced him described him as a battle-crazed demon and call him the Mad Demon. So today we intend to end his madness right here. Meanwhile, outside, a foot was silently stepping forward. It was the person everyone was talking about, the Mad Demon, gradually approaching the mansion. Walking up to the main door, he caused a massive explosion, blowing away the door and everything around it before the bewildered eyes of everyone inside. He gently pulled down the cloth covering his face. With an arrogant expression, he spoke, "After chasing that powerful energy, I have arrived at a familiar place. Seeing how the 5 great masters are all gathered here, it seems you were all waiting for this moment." Then he slowly walked towards them, brandishing the sword in his hand. The Sword Emperor seemed unsurprised by that reckless action. He thought to himself, "Is that him, the Mad Demon?" It seems the title is not an exaggeration. It feels like standing before the Grim Reaper. But even so, he did not flinch because in this situation he wanted to do something for the martial world. He immediately drew his sword, with a face full of killing intent and the words, "You alone are reason enough for this old man to swing his sword again." The Mad Demon looked up at him with a face full of disbelief. Quick as a flash, a shadowless step teleported him from his spot to right in front of the Mad Demon, accompanied by the majestic words, "Heavenly Sword First Strike," immediately followed by slashes that cut the Mad Demon into pieces. After that single attack, the Sword Emperor calmly sheathed his sword, leaving the Mad Demon's limbs scattered on the ground. Fist King Yuki looked disappointed and said, "Calm down, old man. It's so boring if it ends just like this. All the rumors about the Mad Demon or whatever are meaningless." Contrary to his feelings, the others were showing unusual expressions. He quickly looked over and asked, "Why are you reacting like this?" As soon as he finished speaking, the Mad Demon suddenly grinned and chuckled, "Wow, this far exceeds my expectations." Yuki panic-strickenly exclaimed, What is this?" Even more amazing, the severed limbs of the Mad Demon were now reattached to his body, as if they had never been separated. At this moment, Yuki's smile completely disappeared, replaced by a look of fear. Sweat pouring down his face as he thought, Am I dreaming?" Unable to believe what was happening before his eyes, Baek Murio felt dizzy, squinting his eyes and wondering, impossible. Is that the legendary martial art said to be granted immortality? Immortal body technique. So it actually exists. Cutting off his train of thought, the Mad Demon stared at the group and suddenly spoke, "Impressive! Then shall we have some fun?" Yuki angrily shouted at the Sword Emperor, "Elder, what are you doing? Get away from him quickly!" But it seemed the old man could no longer move. The Mad Demon laughed a barbaric laugh, glancing back at the Sword Emperor and saying, "Don't worry about that old man. I've had enough fun with him." The Sword Emperor had taken a very heavy hit from the Mad Demon while using his Heavenly Sword First Strike skill. His abdomen was bleeding profusely onto the ground. And in just a moment, he fell face down on the ground, breathing his last, while the Mad Demon began walking forward with a cruel, gloating smile, saying, "All right, who is next?" Baek Murio, with a face full of frustration, gritted his teeth and growled. The Northern Queen Jin Seohai glanced at him and reminded him, "Calm down. Baek Murio, as the leader of the Fire Dragon sect, do you know nothing about this situation?" Baek Murio immediately replied, "I'm not sure, but I have seen that martial art in ancient books." Yuki was gradually losing patience with every passing second. When he saw the Sword Emperor's corpse lying on the ground, it only fueled the anger in his heart. A destructive killing intent began to radiate increasingly stronger around him, but by now, Fist King Yuki's fist had unleashed his rage. Despite everyone trying to dissuade him, he stomped hard on the ground, sending everything in contact flying into the air. He raised his fist, screaming madly, "You are so insolent! How dare you! I will kill you!" Then rushed straight at the mad demon with insane power. The mad demon widened his eyes, smiling a sinister smile, and said, "Oh, is it the Fist King?" Immediately after, a punch called the Hurricane Fist came rushing in. The punch was so massive that the ground beneath shattered and scattered upon contact with the mad demon's body. The punch with destructive power made the mad demon even more excited, repeatedly exclaiming, "That's right, couldn't expect less from you." At the same time, the demon's body began to disintegrate. Immediately after, a huge explosion appeared, blowing away earth and rocks, creating large rings of fire that shot through the entire mansion. Witnessing that destructive power, Bakemurio thought to himself, "The Fist King's martial arts are truly extraordinary, but there is no way to defeat him with just that." Fist King Yuki looked panicked, sweat pouring down his face, thinking, how can this be? My explosive fist hit him directly." On the contrary, is his power increasing? Cutting off his train of thought, the mad demon arrogantly replied, "I admit it, that is truly a wonderful martial art, Fist King Yuki. Then I will certainly accept it with pleasure." Immediately after, the mad demon created a destructive energy source similar to the Fist King's punch. The Hurricane Fist was recreated by the mad demon with terrifying power. After the explosion ended, the one hit was not Yuki, but the Shaolin abbot Haiyan. To block the attack for Yuki, he sacrificed both his hands. Seeing this, the mad demon angrily scolded, "Hey, old monk, it's not your turn yet." Haiyan, eyes rolling back, sighed and turned to scold the mad demon. "Don't be so arrogant, you fool." The mad demon put his hand to his mouth, laughing triumphantly, and replied, "For someone saying that, aren't you the one who seems to be in trouble?" Yuki looked up at the old monk with a face full of guilt. I'm sorry, it's because of me." But Haiyan didn't want to assign blame. He told Yuki, "Don't say such things anymore. If you hadn't intervened, I would have done it. Focus on dealing with this monster before worrying about such trivial matters." Meanwhile, the mad demon seemed to be immersed in thought. Then suddenly he smiled with delight and said to Haiyan, "A body that can withstand the Fist King's martial arts. Is that body indestructible?" As soon as the sentence ended, the mad demon flashed forward, rushing at Haiyan with insane speed. Seeing the situation getting more intense, the Northern Queen Jin Seo Hai, with a face full of anger, exclaimed, "Stop joking around." She used the cold shadow sword, slash, to pierce through the mad demon's body. At this moment, her cold energy began to freeze his body. Instead of fear, the mad demon glanced back and asked, "Is this the martial art of the North Sea Ice Palace that I've only heard about?" Jin Seo Hai furiously replied, "Shut up, you monster. It has frozen me to the bone." "That's right. The 5 great generals of the world. They live up to their titles." Bakemurio stepped forward and added, "I am glad you like them. Then I will let you witness the martial arts of the Fire Dragon sect leader." Quick as lightning, Bakemurio rushed in without a single wasted movement, slicing the mad demon in two. Glaring with bloodshot eyes down at the fresh cut, the mad demon laughed gloatingly and said to Murio, "What is this? Is that all?" The mad demon still arrogantly replied, "What nonsense are you spouting?" At the same time, strips of cloth continuously emerged from his body, quickly shifting his gaze downwards with a face full of fear. He screamed, What the hell is this? What did you do to me?" A moment later, the strips of cloth wrapped tightly around the mad demon's body like ribbons. Finally, he was completely trapped in that cloth like an ancient mummy. Haiyan was panic-stricken and surprised upon witnessing this scene, hastily exclaiming, "I have never seen such a martial art in my life. What did you do?" Bakemurio replied, "That is the heavenly shrouding blade, a treasure passed down to the leaders of the Fire Dragon sect, and those struck by this sword will live in darkness forever. However, there are no records of it ever being used, so we don't know how long it will last, meaning we must always be prepared." And cutting to 3,000 years later, the mad demon is still trapped beneath those cloths. A room filled with modern machinery appears before us. This is Planet GSP Sector 3, year 2600. Please be careful, as some artifacts are very fragile. At that moment, a girl was walking over. He looked at her and continued, That person over there is with me." Seeing the girl walk away without a word, he wondered, what is she going off alone without saying anything? This young man's name is Mark, from the Earth Propaganda Team. She is approaching a door. She took off her sunglasses. A bright smile appeared on her face as she exclaimed in joy, I've finally arrived on this damn planet. She is team leader Lena of the Earth propaganda team. Suddenly, Mark ran up from behind, repeatedly calling her name, Team leader Lena, team leader, causing her to turn around in surprise. Glancing at Mark, she criticized, "Did you come here to have fun? Why are you so excited?" Mark, flustered, tried to force a smile and replied, "Well, until the main team arrives, we don't have much to do, right? So isn't this like a vacation?" Hearing Mark's words, Lena couldn't help but feel exasperated and exclaimed, "You've got quite the nerve, don't you?" Mark hastily explained, "Well, for someone like you who usually shudders at the thought of aliens, to suddenly volunteer to come to a place where all the aliens in the universe gather. Of course, I'd be curious. There are species here that can't even be found on Earth. It's still dangerous." Mark casually replied, "Oh, come on, things are different now. In the tournament, everyone is equal." But Lena wasn't so sure, saying, I don't know if these guys think the same way." Especially when looking at their smugness, Mark, still confused, called out, "Why?" Lena cast a lazy glance back at him. She gritted her teeth and shouted, "You've really got guts. Do you really want to stay near these scary aliens?" Immediately after she shouted, the aliens started staring at them. Mark quickly told her, Team leader comments like that can be dangerous even if we are equal." "It's dangerous precisely because we aren't equal." Hearing Mark's nonsense, Lena was speechless. She just sighed and remarked, "What would an inexperienced person like you know?" Mark still tried to argue back, "No, it's not about being aliens. If you call someone disgusting, anyone would get angry." Not wanting to argue with him anymore, Lena stopped at a certain spot and said, "We're finally here." Mark asked in confusion, "Here we've arrived." Lena explained, "This is the place where we truly rise to an equal standing with them." Mark replied in surprise, "This is the GSP tournament arena, right? This is the greatest cosmic festival held once every century, a place of opportunity where the level of each civilization can be raised instantly. Welcome to the GSP tournament." Mark scratched his head and asked Lena in confusion, "So, team leader, you actually came here to watch the tournament, even though you said you came to survey?" Below in the arena, the announcer's voice rang out again. "The contestant for this match is a fiery alien named Agni, ranked 972nd in the civilization rankings, representing the Ifrit civilization. And facing him is Panong, ranked 9,630th in the civilization rankings, representing the Piccolo civilization. So who will be the winner of this match?" We will now begin the preliminary round for Group 6. Before we could see the battle, the scene shifted elsewhere. Two people in explorer gear were talking, "Hey, clean this up quickly, all right?" And as one guy walked past the 3,000-year-old mummy of the mad demon, he seemed to sense a sound coming from it, leaving him bewildered. He asked his friend, "Didn't you hear that sound just now?" On planet GSP, located 500,000 light-years from Earth, a combat tournament is held every 100 years, gathering civilizations from across the universe. In this tournament, the winning civilization is said to attain the truth of all things. We have officially qualified to participate in this tournament. The contestant representing us is known as the strongest on Earth. We believe that advancing to the finals will be easy, and even winning the championship is not far-fetched. Back to the arena. At this moment, the battle is raging. The announcer's voice continuously rings out, "Indeed, they truly deserve the name Fireborn." Panong, after struggling for a while, seemed exhausted. He stood panting and exclaimed, "This damn Fireborn!" Agni was now rushing madly towards Panong with a gloating remark, "I will burn you to ashes." From the stands, cheers for Agni erupted constantly. "I bet everything on you, show them what you've got, Agni." And even the announcer couldn't hide his excitement. Indeed, the popularity of contestant Agni is immense. Panong felt very uncomfortable and was gradually losing his spirit as the crowd kept chanting his opponent's name. While Panong was still dazedly looking towards the stands, Agni had arrived in front of him, looking smug. "Ah, how dare you look away when facing me, huh?" It seemed only then did Panong feel Agni's heat nearby. He was startled and glanced back. But on the battlefield, there are no second chances to correct mistakes. Agni blew a scorching flame, engulfing the entire ring, leaving the audience amazed at his devastating power, constantly screaming, "Oh my God, Agni's breath is so famous it can melt even the sturdiest ships, and now it's erupting fiercely." Meanwhile, Agni continued to flex his muscles to mock the crowd. "Do you see Lord Agni's power yet, you fools?" After witnessing the brutal scene of the battle, Mark turned to ask Lena, "How can we fight a monster like that? Are we really going to keep looking for its weakness?" "I don't think that will work," Lena replied. "Well, that might not mean much." Hearing that, Mark smugly continued, "I told you we are just wasting time." Lena frankly told him, "No, not just that. No alien from level 3 or higher is focusing on this match. Mark, if you understand, keep looking for their weaknesses as planned. Mark scratched his head, looking confused, and asked Lena, "No, I mean, why do we, the propaganda team, need to do that?" Just then, a little girl from the Piccolo civilization burst into tears and screamed, "Panong, you can't lose! Come on, Panong!" Hearing the sobbing nearby, Mark quickly noticed the girl and thought, "Oh my, isn't that a child of the Piccolo species?" Unfortunately, their civilization has bad luck with matches. The opponent belongs to the top tier of level 3 civilizations. Cutting off Mark's train of thought, the announcer's voice suddenly rang out again. "The heat of the fire has subsided somewhat, but Panong is nowhere to be seen." A boy from another planet spoke up. "Come on, end the match. That trash has probably been burned to ashes and blown away by the wind already." Mark glanced at the boy who just spoke and thought to himself, "Oh no, there's a dangerous guy nearby. I need to tell the team leader and get out of here." Suddenly, the little girl from the Piccolo civilization felt upset by the boy's actions. She quickly stood up to argue, "Hey, you there, don't talk nonsense about Panong Agni. You don't know anything about him." The boy replied with a look of utter contempt. "Funny. This kid has no manners at all, just as expected from a lower species." The girl angrily shouted, "You're just a kid too, you brat." After hearing those words, the girl was terrified. She even fell to the ground and crawled backward. When they looked towards the boy, he had transformed into a giant monster with a sinister face. He thrust his ugly face with bulging eyes and massive teeth towards the girl, declaring, "Even someone like me can turn your planet's representative into a pool of blood in 10 seconds. Turns out he is Engineer Pixie, representing the Pixie civilization, ranked 1,300th. Lena rested her chin on her hand and casually said to Pixie, "Showing off your strength to a child, what's so great about that?" Pixie angrily activated sound waves and said to Lena, "What did you just say?" Lena showed no sign of flinching before this monster. She glanced over and retorted, "Didn't you just say you were completely normal on your planet? Stop acting so arrogant. The way you talk lets everyone know you're a loser." Seeing the team leader's arrogant attitude sent a chill down Mark's spine. Pixie's eyes popped out in surprise, mocking Lena. "Wow, did these lower civilizations all drink the wrong medicine together? Why are you making me so angry?" Those words touched Pixie's pride, causing him to aggressively rush towards the two of them. At this moment, Mark was terrified, constantly struggling to shake off Lena's hand, saying, "Get away from me. He misunderstands everything just because you're with me." Lena replied in surprise, "What, you intend to abandon your team leader?" Without waiting for the two to struggle any longer, Pixie advanced right up to them, raising his fist as Mark looked on in terror. Suddenly, a security drone appeared above Pixie's head. It aimed straight at the boy, ordering, "Stay right there, Pixie." He quickly glanced up with a frustrated look, thinking, "Damn it, why now?" Mark hadn't recovered from the scene yet. He reached out to Lena and asked, "What is that?" Contrary to his trembling appearance, Lena calmly replied, "That's an unmanned security drone patrolling the arena. With so many of those patrolling around here, what could that guy do inside this stadium?" The security drone turned to ask Lena, "Has that Pixie harmed you in any way?" Lena covered her mouth, chuckling with delight, and replied, "Harmed? No, he didn't directly harm anyone. But that idiot suddenly showed off his muscles, probably just to show off. Because of that, I've suffered so much I've even lost my appetite. But it's okay." The security drone asked again, "Showing off muscles, is that true?" Lena looked straight at Pixie and said, "That's right, isn't it? You just showed off your sturdy body to us, a level 1 civilization, didn't you?" Seeing the situation wasn't good, Mark turned to Lena and whispered, "What are you doing? That guy is so angry his eyes are about to pop out." Lena replied, "Before he actually hurts someone, telling the truth will end with him being released without any consequences. I mean, this is how I punish him." Immediately after, the security drone turned to ask Pixie, "Do you really want to show off those useless muscles that much? So that means I didn't do anything wrong, right?" As soon as he finished speaking, he sat down on the ground, his body suddenly deflating and returning to its original form. He quickly stood up and ran away, but not without looking back to wave at the two with contempt. "See you later, bugs." After Pixie left, Mark quickly wiped the sweat from his face and said, "See you later. Don't appear even in my dreams." Then he quickly glanced at Lena and asked, "By the way, did you predict this outcome beforehand?" Lena's face fell as she replied, "Of course." Suddenly, the little Piccolo girl's small hand grabbed the hem of Lena's shirt. With a face full of admiration, she said to her, "Thank you for helping me." Lena quickly glared down at the girl and snapped, "Help who helped whom? Get lost. You're distracting me from the match." Hearing Lena's scolding, the girl was startled and frightened, tears welling up on her innocent face. Mark shook his head repeatedly, thinking, Just as I thought, maybe she just suddenly lost her temper earlier. Then he reached out to pat the girl's head, consoling her. All right, you've seen how scary this lady is. Go back to your family. But after the unimpressive things Mark had just done, the Piccolo girl swatted Mark's hand aside, scowling and cursing, "Get lost, you coward!" Then Piccolo bowed to the two of them to express her sincerity. At this moment, Mark felt disappointed and wondered, I get scared too. Why does that girl only treat me like that? Hearing Mark's lackluster complaints, Lena shouted loudly, "Shut up, you coward!" Meanwhile, in the stands, the audience still hadn't seen Panong appear and screamed, "What are you doing? Stop hiding, come out, and you dare call yourself a representative of your civilization." After the boos from the stands, Panong's silhouette was still nowhere to be seen below, causing the announcer to exclaim, "Fierce criticism is pouring down on contestant Panong," and Agni was still constantly showing off by stomping his feet, blowing away smoke and dust. His face gloating as he laughed and said, "It's been a long time since I got to play hide-and-seek like this." Lena hugged the railing tightly, her face downcast with disappointment, thinking to herself, is there really no way for Earthlings to win against these monsters? Hearing strange sounds coming from Lena, Mark turned back and asked, "What is it? Why are you acting like that again? Are you okay? You seem to be trembling." But as if noticing something unusual happening, the announcer shouted, "Wait, that's contestant Panong." Surprised by the announcer's words, Lena quickly widened her eyes to look down. The announcer's voice continued to ring out. Through the flames, Panong aimed for Agni's blind spot. A desperate strike betting his entire life, and it hit precisely. This will be a fatal blow to contestant Agni. He cannot stand up. Mark hastily explained, "It's not that. They said there's a problem with the exhibition and want you to check it immediately." "You saw it too, right? I really can't believe it. I never thought Panong would actually beat that monster." She was still bewildered by the sudden gust of wind inside when a hand slowly reached out and grabbed her head. The scene shifts to the Planetary Promotion Center Sector 3Z Street. At this moment, Lena slowly opened her eyes. It turns out they were knocked out and dragged away by two guys from the PC planet. Seeing Mark lying unconscious in front of her, his body covered in bruises, surprised and worried, Lena exclaimed, "Mark, wake up, Mark!" Hearing Lena's voice, Pixie and his accomplice turned around with bewildered expressions. Then Pixie walked over, grabbed her head, and laughed gloatingly. "What, you're awake?" His accomplice grabbed Mark's leg, lifted it up, and asked her, "Are you talking about him when you say Mark? You did this just because I teased you a little. And are you incapable of learning? This is Planet GSP. The security team will be deployed soon." Pixie gloatingly replied, "How dare a lowly civilization like yours tease me? I have some bad news for you. Most of the security devices on this planet are based on our civilization's technology, and I've already disabled all the devices in this building." At the same time, Pixie calmly pointed a finger at Lena's head and provoked her, "Do you understand, you brat, the Galactic Alliance is not what it used to be, accepting stupid and incompetent people like this?" Pixie's sarcastic words made Lena unable to swallow her anger. She shouted furiously, "Accept us! Shut your mouth right now! We didn't want to join this useless alliance either, and forced us to join, and because of the infectious disease you brought. Yet this damn alliance says they don't interfere between civilizations, but they never show any support either." Hearing Lena's frantic complaints, Pixie and his accomplice didn't understand what was going on and just stood there staring blankly. A moment later, Pixie burst out laughing uncontrollably, spraying saliva everywhere. With a perverted look and drool dripping from his mouth, he said to Lena, "Isn't she confidently showing off that her civilization is in danger?" The accomplice joined in, grinning from ear to ear, adding, "No support. Do you think the Alliance is some kind of charity organization? Infectious disease. Is there really still a primitive civilization struggling with that kind of disease?" Pixie affirmed. "That's right. I thought such primitive creatures were only found in museums." Meanwhile, they dragged the two into a warehouse as they spoke. Stepping inside, the Mad Demon's voice rang out, "I was wondering which sect dared to bring me here. Turns out it's you guys. Well, I guess the Shaolin Temple really has some reputation in the martial arts world. But hasn't your interior decor changed significantly? It's so luxurious that I thought this was a private room in a large inn." Hearing the Mad Demon's familiar way of speaking, Lena wondered, this language, is that person an Earthling? Hearing the hollow words they didn't understand, Pixie and his accomplice got annoyed and said to the Mad Demon, "What the hell are you saying? Use the common language, you trash." Lena thought to herself, these guys don't understand Earth's language. The Mad Demon also didn't understand the language the two were speaking. Fearing his hearing was impaired, he kept picking his ear and replied, "What are you saying? Is it not just the interior decoration that has changed?" Hearing this, Lena thought, damn it, that person doesn't speak the common language. No, this might be better. Snapping out of her thoughts, Lena shouted at the mad demon, slightly startling Pixie. You there! Get out and report to the security team right away. They are trying to break the Alliance's rules. Hearing the barrage of Earth language that neither of the PC guys understood, Pixie angrily slammed Lena's head into the ground and growled, What are they plotting? Do they want to die? Immediately after, the mad demon raised his hand and began accumulating destructive energy. Streaks of golden light and remaining scraps of cloth swirled around his arm. Pixie's accomplice approached him and reached out to grab the mad demon's head, but when he looked down, he was surprised by an arm pressed against his stomach. He wondered in annoyance, What is this? The mad demon didn't understand what he said. He used Earth's language to call it Whirlwind Fist. Quick as lightning, a terrifying power flew from his arm, piercing through the pixie, causing dust and debris to rise up in a white cloud. Lena hurriedly covered her head to shield herself from the debris of the explosion, looking extremely panicked. At this moment, Pixie's hand was still gripping her head tightly. A moment later, as the dust settled, she was stunned by the scene before her. The hand grabbing her hair slowly fell down, and the pixie's body had been split in two. The mad demon approached Lena and threatened in a low voice, I have a lot of questions, so if you try to run away without a reason, I will kill you on the spot. Then the mad demon put on a fierce expression and reached his savage hand towards Lena's face. As the mad demon's hand was about to touch her face, a gentle voice spoke up. Hey girl, if you want to keep your life, speak clearly. Lena thought to herself, Ah, right. He can't speak the common language. The demon arrogantly placed his hand on his hip and asked her, First explain where this is. Still crawling on the ground in fear, Lena replied, This is the promotion building on Z Street. The mad demon asked in surprise, Wait, isn't this the Shaolin Temple? The energy radiating from here is definitely different from Shaolin. The atmosphere inside is too noisy for it to be the temple of those baldies. Hearing such an awkward question made the mad demon scratch his head in thought. Immediately after, Lena quickly stood up, walked around inspecting the mad demon, and continued, From the language you speak to your appearance, you are clearly a human from Earth. It seems you don't have any special equipment. Lena rested her hand on her chin, looking confused about the human standing before her. She wondered, Then what was that explosion just now? Unable to stand Lena's behavior, the mad demon grabbed her head and shouted in frustration, Are you crazy? What are you messing around for? Disregarding his action and her fear from earlier, Lena slapped the mad demon's hand away, glaring and questioning. I am asking who you are. State your identity. The mad demon quickly replied, What do you mean by identity? Lena grumpily replied, Of course not. How would I know who you are? Suddenly from behind him, the remaining PC alien rushed in to attack. Lena, terrified, shouted at the mad demon, Behind you! The PC alien rushed forward with a furious face, cursing, How dare you, you lowly creature! This remark made the PC alien even angrier, and he swung a punch as fast as he could. But the mad demon simply dodged the punch and countered with one of his own, causing the PC alien's eyes to bulge out of their sockets. The mad demon angrily said to the PC alien, You useless hulking guys, do you not practice internal energy? At the same time, he released energy in streams of golden light that flew straight into the PC alien. Meanwhile, Lena was sweating profusely from fear, thinking to herself, He blocked that giant with one hand. After dealing with the PC alien, the mad demon walked up to Lena, struck a cool pose, and asked her again, Hey girl, are you seriously saying you don't know who I am? Looking at his demeanor, Lena thought, What is going on? Is he famous on Earth? With this power, it would be strange if people didn't know about him. After composing herself, Lena apologized to the mad demon and said, I don't know much about Earth because I spend most of my time on other planets. Seeming not to understand, the mad demon looked quite surprised by Lena's words. He crossed his arms and asked in bewilderment, Other planets, Earth, what are you talking about? Lena explained. Just as I said, I don't spend much time on Earth due to work. Suddenly, Mark seemed to wake up from his coma after the explosion. He kept shouting Lena's name. Approaching them with a miserable look, Mark turned to Lena and asked, What the hell is happening? Lena turned to Mark with an indifferent expression and replied, Ah, Mark, you're awake. Seeing a stranger approach made the mad demon annoyed. He turned and growled at Mark, Where did this weakling crawl out from? Seeing the mad demon's angry demeanor, Mark glanced over with a grimace and asked, Weakling? Who is that person? Lena quickly added, So you don't know either. Wanting to clarify things, Lena decided to question the mad demon. Hey, I am grateful that you saved me, but it will be very hard to cooperate if you don't reveal your identity. Then he slicked back his hair, struck an artistic pose, and gloatingly continued, "Fine, I will introduce myself. I am the great demon king Majin Wan, the one who destroyed the 4 great martial sects." Lena seemed to realize something and spoke up. "Great demon king Majin Wan. I don't understand what that means, but that name sounds extraordinary. This guy could be—" Cutting off their conversation. Suddenly, the giant fist of the PC alien smashed hard onto the ground. Blood flowed continuously from his mouth as he shouted in disappointment, "Damn it, I lost to that useless guy!" Mark, surprised, grabbed Lena's shoulder and asked, "PC aliens? Why are they here? Is it because of what happened earlier?" The PC monster grew increasingly agitated as energy surged within him, exclaiming in frustration, Damn it, if I didn't have this restraint device, things would have been different." Mark felt worried seeing this and decided to tell Lena, "Team leader, you don't think it's going to explode, do you? I think we should run." Meanwhile, the mad demon Jin Wan looked at the monster with an indifferent expression. Suddenly, Lena's voice, calling his name, startled him into glancing over. "Hey, great demon King Jin Wan! Do you think you can defeat that guy in his current state?" Jin Wan smiled sinisterly and asked her, "Current state? So he hasn't used all his power yet?" Lena quickly replied, "That's right, he hasn't used his full power yet." Jin Wan showed no interest in this. In fact, he felt insulted. He started walking towards the massive monster arrogantly and replied to Lena, "Are you saying he went easy on me?" Lena tried to stop him and said, "Wait, let's get information from that guy first." Mark quickly turned to remind Lena, "No, what are you planning? You know the consequences of letting your guard down, right?" Mark continued to plead with her, "What opportunity? Forget it, let's run." But Lena was determined to stay and watch the fight. But unable to persuade Lena, Mark decided to leave alone, shouting in anger, "Damn it! Everyone has gone crazy, I don't get it anymore." Seeing her teammate leave, Lena thought, this might be crazy like Mark said, but he clearly showed that against such an absurd monster, an appearance that overwhelms the potential of humans from Earth's level 1 civilization. Although it was largely thanks to the restraint device with power at this level, there is definitely a chance. As if noticing something amiss with the PC, Lena exclaimed in surprise, "What is that, an unrestrained PC?" The PC monster surged with intense spirit and terrifying energy. Yellow lightning crackling around its body along with the power to freely control metal, causing metal shards on the floor to scatter everywhere. Surprised by the monster's power, Jin Wan felt even more excited. The monster extended its hand towards Jin Wan, declaring, "Experience the gap between our civilizations and die, you trash." Immediately after, a massive explosion sent metal fragments flying everywhere. Jin Wan was buried under a huge pile of metal with shards of iron and steel piercing his body. Jin Wan quickly blasted away the scrap metal restraining his body, sending it flying. Witnessing the terrifying power of a lower civilization, the PC monster panicked and exclaimed, "That's impossible!" By now, Jin Wan had completely removed the iron bars piercing him, landing in a majestic stance with a darkened face and glowing red eyes. Looking up arrogantly, he mocked the PC, "Hey, Baldy, that power, I want it for myself." On the other hand, the monster couldn't believe this. It stared down at Jin Wan in surprise, thinking, "What, he broke through my force?" Then once again, the PC monster attacked madly, hurling a hunk of metal at Jin Wan with a punch, thinking that the massive lump of iron it saw had crushed Jin Wan once again. It smiled with satisfaction and said, "This is how it should be." But he didn't expect that not only was Jin Wan unharmed, but he was also arrogantly sitting on his head. Jin Wan gripped the PC's head, tightly absorbing power while scolding, "A piece of trash like you dares to think you're better than me. What have you been babbling about all this time?" Unable to contain its anger, the PC monster swung its hand to grab Jin Wan, but it wasn't that easy. He jumped up immediately. The monster used its metal control skill recklessly again, and hurled metal fragments at Jin Wan. The PC monster, of course, couldn't believe such a monstrous thing. It roared madly, wondering, is that actually real? Then the two powers clashed, causing a massive explosion that sent iron shards and smoke scattering everywhere. Lena was too shocked by this powerful shockwave. With a panicked face, she thought, "Oh my God, what is this?" Even the monster couldn't understand what it was witnessing, only screaming in frustration, "You trash! How can he use the power of our civilization? I really like it. All right, I'll show you my technique as a token of gratitude." The monster looked extremely annoyed and screamed, "You dare copy us, you trash!" Then raised its arm to accumulate energy and gather more metal. Jin Wan looked furious and explained, "I am not copying you." And quick as a flash, he teleported from his position. Launching himself forward, he rushed straight into the PC monster's stomach. With a single brutal, fierce tiger strike, He pierced through the monster's body with terrifying power as the monster lay crumbled on the ground, saying, "I didn't copy it, I just stole it from you." Lena stood dazed, not knowing how to react. She thought to herself, he actually won against a level 3 civilization using cosmic power. This is far crazier than I imagined. Jin Wan was feeling very amused and satisfied at this moment. He happily exclaimed, "This is truly an interesting martial art, even exhilarating." He turned to Lena and said, "Hey girl, take me to where those bald guys are." Lena quickly grabbed Jin Wan's hand, pulled him back, and said, "That's why you came here? The reason you sneaked onto this planet? You want to prove your strength, right?" Lena felt extremely excited. Because of what she was thinking, she excitedly continued, "I get it. Then I will take you there to a place with much stronger opponents. Become Earth's representative in the GSP tournament. Great Demon King, Ma Jin Wan." Mark finally returned. Beside him was a judge of planet GSP. Witnessing the scene before him, the judge quickly said to Mark, "If even a PC of a level 3 civilization was defeated, then surely a higher level civilization or a combat specialized civilization must be involved, right?" Mark turned to him, dumbfounded, not knowing what to say. Interrupting Mark's train of thought, Judge Versus quickly asked, "Human, are you worried about something?" Mark stammered in reply, No, I don't. The judge put on a suspicious expression and continued, "No, clearly you are worried about something. You can hide behind me." Mark looked up at this judge, scratching his head and tearing his hair out, replying, "I see I can't fool Judge Versus. I'm just worried about my teammates' safety." The judge quickly comforted Mark, saying, "They will be fine. Looking at the scene, the perpetrator must be a dangerous criminal, so we will soon know who did this." Behind this mess, Mark thought to himself, "Is that the memory machine that can recreate the past that I've only heard about?" Looking up and seeing the whole place being reconstructed made Mark shudder and exclaim, "Damn it! This means if I stay here any longer." Noticing his worry, the judge immediately encouraged him, "Don't be too discouraged, Earthling. He will use his mysterious power and is determined to avenge your teammate." Mark started sweating with anxiety, thinking to himself, "This is really bad, right, team leader Lena?" Rewinding time to 30 minutes ago, Jin Wan was trying to explain to Lena, "I don't remember anything until I woke up and found myself here." After the seemingly absurd explanation from someone from 3,000 years ago, Lena couldn't help but sink into thought. Martial arts world seals. What is this story straight out of a novel? So that's why he can fluently speak a language he didn't know before. Is it the effect of absorbing that PC's power? I've never heard of a cosmic power that can absorb others' power. However, if that's not it, nothing else explains it. So how did humanity lose those abilities? Is it a secret technique that was lost? While Lena was trying to understand the situation, Jin Wan suddenly felt annoyed and started to leave. Jin Wan quickly glanced back with angry eyes and replied, "Thinking about it, I don't need your help." Seeing Jin Wan's difficult attitude, Lena became even more determined. She put on an angry face and shouted at Jin Wan, "Wait, I said I would take you there." But Jin Wan ignored her words and asserted, "I can find it myself." Lena ran after him, trying to explain, "Wait a minute, this isn't the world you know." Jin Wan didn't want to listen to her. Walking away, he glanced back and said to her, "What a pity. Not the world I know. However, this door is quite interesting." Jin Wan showed a face full of anger and said, "Stop following me." Stepping into a room, Jin Wan encountered a completely strange civilization. He squinted and widened his eyes, wondering, what is that? Welcome to the 26th century human from the past. Jin Wan suddenly felt confused and baffled, so he decided to ask back, what is the space exploration era? Lena continued to explain, "As you can see, it means we have started interacting with extraterrestrial civilizations." Jin Wan quickly interrupted to refute, "What's so special about interacting with those strange creatures that you have to distinguish it?" Lena felt confused about him and asked back, "Strange, what are you saying? So what do you think? If you ranked these creatures and humans by civilization level, where do you think humans would stand?" Truly a difficult question for the young man from 3,000 years ago. Jin Wan calmly replied, "I don't know how many of those creatures there are, so how would I know that?" Jin Wan surprisedly turned to Lena and said, "Are you saying the bald guy I defeated counts too? Are you guys stupid?" Annoyed by his disrespectful words, Lena glared and told him, "That's right, I admit it, but could you be careful with your words? In the universe, there is a 5-level scale to classify the hierarchical relationship of civilizations. As I said, humans are at the lowest level, classified as a level 1 civilization, and of course even among level 1 civilizations we are at the bottom." Jin Wan showed his arrogance and said to Lena, So you really care about that useless ranking if I were you? I would focus on increasing my strength instead of worrying about that. Lena lowered her face and thought for a while. Then she stood in front of Jinwan and said, Ma Jinwan, I would like to formally propose this again. Jinwan hastily asked in confusion, Propose what is it? Lena asked him, What you really want is to meet and fight strong opponents, right? Jinwan quickly replied, You could say that. Lena grabbed his hand and continued explaining, On this planet GSP, there is a universal combat tournament held once every 100 years. In this tournament, beings stronger than anything you can imagine participate. Therefore, you will represent Earth in this tournament. That way you can meet the strong opponents you desire. Jinwan quickly shook off her hand. He sternly asked back, So you mean you are asking me to fight for you? Lena immediately answered positively, Correct, but to meet those strong opponents. Before Lena could finish her sentence, Jinwan angrily shouted, Shut up! Do you think you can use me just because we exchanged a few words? After a few conversations, do you think I look as stupid as you people? If we do well in this tournament, humanity can ascend to the next level of civilization. Jinwan gradually understood the gravity of the matter and said to her, Is that so? But then does that hollow ranking matter? Lena was furious after hearing his question and shouted back, It is not just hollow. Lena immediately interrupted him. What if it can change to ascend to the next level? All you need to do is achieve good results in this tournament. The levels of civilization are classified based on cosmic power, a life energy that defines existence. All powers that exceed common logic in this universe only appear when one can freely manipulate this mysterious energy source. After her explanation, Jinwan finally understood and said, all right, now I understand. You want to use this mysterious power, but it seems you can only use it after ascending to the next level. However, you people have no hope of winning the tournament. So you want me to fight those monsters to win, is that right? Lena quickly replied, That is the conclusion. But when a civilization advances, what you gain will not be the method to use those superpowers, but the enlightenment of knowledge that you cannot obtain even if you try for a lifetime. Lena quickly replied, Right. The knowledge that humanity has accumulated until now, which people believe is the result of centuries of human effort. But when entering the space exploration era, they revealed the truth to us. What we thought we had achieved through experience and effort is actually just a small fraction of information continuously transferred from the massive brain of a giant at the end of the universe, and there are those who control that giant's knowledge. They are called Insapiens, the only level 5 civilization in the current universe, and the hosts of this damn tournament. She told him in frustration that knowledge is distributed unfairly to each civilization because of their freakish restrictions. That's true, but listen to me. What you have to do is for all of humanity. But Jinwan didn't want to care about her words and started waving his hand to leave, not forgetting to reply, instead of explaining, I advise you to find someone who shares your beliefs. I don't think any fool is willing to risk their life for others. As he turned his head back to speak to Lena, a hand with terrible power was aiming at him. As he turned to walk away, he was blinded by the light emitting from that hand. The planetary judge appeared and without wasting a second, he used his mysterious energy to punish Jinwan, causing his body to completely disintegrate. And then the judge declared judgment complete. But I couldn't imagine that this was the work of a low-level civilization like yours. The judge began to advance towards Lena. Standing in front of her, he announced, For your involvement in the murder of a PC resident, I will judge you. As the sentence ended, the judge slowly moved his energy-filled hand closer to Lena's head. Suddenly, a voice spoke up behind him. Damn it, that really hurt. Hey, Skinny. It was Jinwan, and he was beginning to regenerate. Witnessing this horrifying scene, Lena couldn't help but panic and wonder, is he still alive? Jinwan appeared extremely angry. He kept cursing the judge. You bastard! What are you doing leaving me in this state? The judge was equally surprised to see his body gradually recovering. Jinwan raised his mangled hand, laughed angrily, and said to the judge, Don't move or I'll make you look just like this. The scene shifts to Sector 3 Street C on planet GSP, a bustling atmosphere with extraterrestrial creatures of all shapes and sizes constantly present. In that crowd, residents of planet Piccolo were also present, striding towards the arena to support their representative. Rock asked Mala in surprise, During the fight with the PC resident, turns out Earthlings are braver than rumored. Kulak agreed and said, We owe her a favor. Suddenly, all three were stunned to meet a man wearing a brown cloak covering his body just like them. You know, our youngest almost got into big trouble after going to cheer for everyone. Mala quickly realized it was Panong. She quickly let go of the balloon in her hand and ran towards the man with open arms. Panong quickly held the little girl tight in his arms. Rock, suddenly feeling worried, asked Panong, You've been through a lot. Are you okay? Panong gently lowered his hood and replied, "Don't worry, I still have the strength to keep fighting." "But what did you say, Big Trouble?" Before she could get an answer, a massive explosion interrupted the bustling street. After overhearing that information, Rock asked in confusion. The PC tribe and an earthling, Kulak, immediately replied, "That combination sounds familiar, doesn't it?" Mala grasped Panong's hand tightly with her small hand and called out. Panong looked down at her in bewilderment and asked, "What is it, Mala? Did something happen?" Mala stammered. "Well, it's just—" Shortly after, the battle between Jin Wan and the judge caused chaos, and the entire building seemed to have collapsed. Lena somehow managed to luckily escape the disaster. Although exhausted, she sat stunned looking at the scrap metal piled high. Jin Wan, with a gloating expression, stood atop the scrap pile and said to the judge, "This is what happens when you carelessly destroy someone else's body." But suddenly surges of power from beneath began breaking apart the pile of scrap metal. Jin Wan stared down, thinking, "Oh my, it seems you escaped." Sensing a burst of power about to explode, Jin Wan quickly jumped down, landing in an extremely cool pose. The judge melted the scrap pile. He slowly extended his hand and asked Jin Wan curiously, "I couldn't believe it when I saw it at the scene, so tell me, did you really absorb the cosmic energy of that PC resident? You seem more dangerous than I thought." Jin Wan, with an arrogant expression, asked the judge, "Are you starting to regret touching me?" And immediately Jin Wan raised his powerful foot with a furious face. He rushed forward at breakneck speed with an explosive attack. Mid-attack, Jin Wan didn't stop provoking the judge. "It's too late now, you skinny twig." And another explosion occurred, interrupting everyone's evacuation efforts. Lena sat dazed, staring at the explosion that had just occurred. Her face was full of worry for Jin Wan's safety. She wondered, "Jin Wan, what the hell are you doing?" Panong hurriedly explained, "Calm down, I'm here to save you." Interrupting them, Rock ran from afar, shouting repeatedly, "Brother Panong." Seeing Rock approaching, Panong angrily turned back and scolded him, "Why are you here? I told you to take Mala and stay far away." Lena seemed to realize something. She searched her memory, thinking, "What is this? Ah, isn't this the representative of the Piccolo race that the alien kid was cheering for?" Panong carried Lena on his shoulder and walked away, looking extremely annoyed and cursing. "Damn it, no one listens to me, whether it's this one or that one," Rock shouted with urgency. "Mala is with Kulak, so don't worry and let's go quickly." Suddenly, seeing Panong's strange actions, Lena panicked and asked, "What do you want to do with me?" Panong looked up at Lena and explained, "I came to return the favor you did for us last time. Our Piccolo civilization always repays its debts." Rock kept urging Panong, "Big brother, hurry up, let's go." Lena, still not understanding everything, kept asking, "What are you saying? Wait." Panong rushed like the wind, telling Lena, "However, saving your species is impossible. The judges are monsters who have reached the finals of the GSP tournament, so right now, I have no way to save your kind." Meanwhile, Jin Wan was still fighting madly. He continuously used his clones to attack the judge with powerful moves. Seeing such magical power coming from an earthling, the judge couldn't help but be shocked and wondered, so the PC civilization isn't all they have. At that moment, Jin Wan's clones approached the judge. He immediately raised his hand forward to gather power. The surges of power grew larger and larger, enveloping the entire space. Immediately after, a massive explosion occurred, blowing everything away. Standing amidst the rubble and thick white smoke, the judge kept his arm pointed forward and spoke, "That was just a trick." And of course, with this aura of a main character, Jin Wan suddenly appeared behind the judge, laughing gloatingly. "I thought you would say that." Immediately after, the judge's hand moved close to Jin Wan's head, accumulating power. The judge gloatingly said to Jin Wan, "No, it seems you really aren't worth anything." Immediately, a terrifying wave of power incinerated Jin Wan in an instant. Back to Panong, he was constantly enduring Lena's struggles and scolding, "Let me go, I said, let me go, you alien monster! If you're going to save someone, save him, not me." Rock turned back with an angry face and said, "Didn't you hear what I said earlier? What can we do against a monster like that?" Panong immediately intervened. "Rock, enough. She's the one who saved Mala. Come on, man. Let's stop this." After that, Rock turned to Panong and scolded, "How long are you going to cling to that outdated notion?" Panong shouted angrily, "Shut up! This is the ideal our civilization has protected all our lives." Suddenly, a fierce fire erupted right in front of them. Seeing something in the fire, Panong exclaimed in surprise, What is this dry firewood? Why did it fall from the sky?" Lena spoke up to explain, "This is the earthling I asked you to save." Panong worriedly asked, "Did he fight Judge Vertex?" "If that's the case, then Vertex will also arrive here." At the same time, the judge was gradually appearing, his feet becoming visible. Looking down at Jin Wan's charred corpse, Rock fearfully told Panong, Brother, we can't stay here. We should run away quickly even if we leave those people behind. Otherwise, in this situation, we'll end up like him. Lena looked at Jinwan with a pensive expression. Suddenly, Jinwan's mouth moved. He opened it wide and kept screaming and growling, making Lena excitedly laugh happily, thinking, just as I predicted. Immediately, she shouted loudly, "Wait, look closely at him!" startling Panong slightly. In that flickering fire, Jinwan was screaming angrily with strange sounds, causing Rock to be shocked and wonder, what is that? Is he still alive? Panong looked down with a surprised face, thinking, I can't believe it. Is he continuously regenerating even while engulfed by the judge's flames? Could it be that this earthling's cosmic power is regeneration? That seems like too precious a power for such a lowly creature. At the same time, Jinwan's body gradually appeared. He was gaping, sticking out his tongue and clutching his head in pain from the heat of the fire. Beside him, Judge Vertex was also gradually revealing his majestic appearance. Immediately after he appeared behind them, he spoke, "Leave the criminal here and get out Piccolo people." Hearing the judge's powerful words terrified Rock. She turned angrily to Panong and said, "Did you hear that? This is our chance?" Panong paid no attention to Rock's advice. He quickly turned to Lena and asked, "Earthling, do you think that person can survive?" Seeing his brother ignoring him, Rock screamed in frustration at Panong's face. "Brother," Lena explained, "yes, I've seen him recover from even worse injuries." Panong, with a determined face, reached up to grab his cloak and said, "Is that so? Then take this person to the GSP tournament registration office immediately. If he becomes a GSP warrior, even Vertex won't be able to touch him recklessly." Rock realizing what Panong intended to do, Rock quickly spoke up to stop him. "Brother, please don't." But by now Panong had made up his mind. He took off his cloak, threw it decisively to the ground, turned towards the judge and told the two, "While I hold him off, you two hurry to the registration office." Rock angrily picked up Panong's cloak and cursed, "Damn it, unbelievable, you stubborn fool." Then quickly the two wrapped Jinwan's body in the cloak and ran frantically. Rock didn't forget to tell Panong, "I don't care how, just don't die in front of me." Panong looked up at the judge with a confident demeanor and replied to Rock, "Don't worry. With this victory, we will have a weapon to surprise him." Immediately after, the judge pointed his finger, accumulating a stream of power, and arrogantly said, "Fool, do you really think you can escape from Vertex?" He pointed his burning finger towards Rock and Lena, preparing to attack. At this moment, an eerie, gloomy darkness was gradually appearing behind him. Panong's voice slowly rang out, "I've heard about that before. Before you became a judge, you were definitely a Helicionian. The weakness of Helicionians who possess the power of light is darkness." And immediately Panong's hand became full of magic with purple energy streams. With white eyes devoid of humanity and dark flames burning fiercely on his body, he frantically told the judge, "And coincidentally today, our civilization's cosmic power seems to be the power of darkness." And what made him so determined was the ancestors' command to help the person who saved Mala. Scene 4 shifts to the GSP tournament registration office. Many people and alien monsters of all shapes were moving busily. Registration Officer Kirinos spoke disdainfully. "Sorry, but no matter what you say," Rock angrily shouted right in her face. "Shut up! Stop apologizing and process the registration quickly!" Lena hurriedly held up her employee card and explained, "Look, I am Earth's representative." Kirinos rolled her lazy eyes towards Jinwan and replied, "No, even so, this person's condition." Jinwan was gradually reappearing, but small flames still burned on his face. He shouted angrily, "I'm fine. Hurry up and proceed. This is super regeneration." Jinwan's angry screams attracted the attention of two other aliens. A green-skinned one with slanted eyes stared in the direction of the sound and asked the guy next to him, "What's the noise? What's happening over there? What are they making a fuss about?" The other one replied, "It seems Earthlings are trying to register for the GSP tournament but are being rejected." The green-skinned one laughed gloatingly and exclaimed with a disdainful tone, "Earthlings, that weak civilization wants to participate. If I fight them, I'll win easily, right? Then we definitely have to help them participate." Then the whole group of them burst into gloating laughter. Immediately after, voices started rising from behind Lena and Rock. "What are you doing, Kirinos? Hurry up and register them." "That's right. Every civilization has the right to participate in the GSP tournament." "Exactly. Are you discriminating against a low-rank civilization?" Surprised, Lena and Rock quickly turned around. Looking at the gloating aliens, Rock looked suspicious and said to Lena, "What do these people mean?" Then the urging voices from the aliens continued towards the employee Kirinos. "Register them! Register them!" Under public pressure, Kuranos finally reluctantly agreed. All right, I'll handle the registration. Seeing everything resolved made Lena happy, saying, Good, you should have done that from the beginning. Kuranos said, Sorry, but let me confirm one thing, making Lena confused. Kuranos pointed to where Jin Wan had been lying and asked, Where is the person who needs to register now? At the same time, Lena and Rock quickly turned to confirm, but what met their eyes was not Jin Wan lying there, but an empty table, causing their faces to darken as they panicked and wondered, where did that guy go? Back to Street G Sector 3, Planet GSP. Judge Vertex suspiciously grabbed Panong's head, lifted him up and asked, I don't understand what you gain by risking your life to save those people like that. I can't understand the thinking of low-rank civilizations at all. At the same time, Panong looked quite in pain and helpless. Suddenly a voice rang out from behind him. Hey, skinny guy over there! It turns out our Jin Wan came back for revenge out of bitterness. He was rushing towards the judge with a furious expression, glowing red eyes and a fist charged with power, shouting, You're dead for sure this time! Judge Vertex appeared extremely calm. He extended his hand towards Jin Wan and said, I see. No wonder low-rank civilizations make such stupid judgments from the start. Seeing Jin Wan rushing and Panong kept shouting, I have temporarily sealed his power, strike hard, Earthling. Jin Wan, with a face full of fury, rushed in and continued, Whether my martial arts are mediocre or not, you can judge that after taking a hit from me. At that moment, a punch containing all of Jin Wan's power landed straight on the judge's face. The result was that his mask shattered and flew off into oblivion. Meanwhile, at the Planetary Promotion Center Sector 3 Zone Z, it was very peaceful. Mark was tensely thinking, I'm not at fault. If team leader Lena hadn't intervened from the start, nothing would have happened. Suddenly, he froze in fear. Looking up, the scene before his eyes was a massive explosion, accompanied by ear-piercing screams as people ran away. He wondered in shock, what is happening over there? Is it a terrorist attack or an accident? Suddenly, he received a phone call. The voice on the other end spoke up, This explosion! Don't tell me! Back to the battle between Jin Wan and the judge. By now, the judge's mask had fallen to the ground. He quickly dropped Panong to the ground and held his face in pain. He glared with intense fury at Jin Wan, who was gloating over his revenge strike. Jin Wan smiled disdainfully and said to the judge, This really isn't a joke. You took quite a significant hit from me, didn't you? Fine, I'll take your power too, you lanky giant. From his usual calm demeanor, the judge had replaced it with an expression of extreme anger and fierce eyes, shouting, I will not forgive you. You dared to scratch the mask given to me by God. The judge slowly removed his hands from his face, revealing an ugly countenance, and declared, I will tear you apart, you insect. He manifested his hand right above Jin Wan's head, but Jin Wan remained quite calm, saying, Ha, that's what you wanted from the start, isn't it? And that was when the judge's hand fired a blast of power towards Jin Wan. Without a single wasted movement, he quickly matched the tempo and dodged the attack. But the judge wasn't just a harmless bunny that only knows how to chew grass. Along with the previous move, he also possessed flash step movement techniques, quickly catching up to Jin Wan. Although very confident in his abilities, Jin Wan also felt annoyed by this damn judge. After catching up to Jin Wan, the judge landed and launched a powerful attack, knocking Jin Wan back several tens of meters, causing rocks and dust to scatter everywhere. To end the battle befitting the position of a judge, he began creating an energy sphere, launching it straight at the spot where Jin Wan had just fallen, creating a massive explosion that blew away everything there. Mark, after witnessing the scene, immediately called to confirm with her, just as the team leader said, that guy is here. Lena felt doubtful and asked again, Are you sure? After hearing that affirmation, Lena looked extremely happy and told Mark, Thank goodness you're finally safe. Rock, standing nearby, couldn't believe it and asked, He recovered from injuries to that extent. Mark looked at the smoke-filled scene before him and continued, But I don't think this is the time to sigh in relief just yet. Lena, confused, quickly asked, What are you saying? Mark explained, He is here, but he's not completely safe. The judge is gradually approaching Jin Wan's position and saying, Truly, this is surprising. Looking down at Jin Wan's charred body with parts separated and no longer intact, the judge wondered, Can he recover even from this level of damage? I don't know how a lower-class civilization acquired such overwhelming power, but this ends now. As soon as he finished speaking, he pulled his arm back, activating a circle of power. With a fierce gaze, he prepared to attack Jin Wan's corpse once more. Suddenly, a panicked scream rang out, Wait, Vertex! Causing his intention to completely obliterate Jin Wan's body to be temporarily halted, he put a hand to his forehead, thought for a moment, and asked, Kyranos, what is it? She, with a haughty expression, explained, That Earthling? He has been registered as Earth's representative in the GSP tournament. The judge said in surprise, What nonsense is this? He has been here the whole time. Kyranos explained, That is... Rewinding to about 30 minutes ago, the aliens were continuously chanting, Register them, register them. Some even yelled riot in Kyranos' face, Hey, you racist, just register them. She tried to explain that there was no way to fight against that kind of stubbornness. Rock shouted in frustration, What's so unreasonable about it, you racist? Lena also didn't stay quiet and scolded, That's right, put some heart into your job, lady. Kyranos, extremely angry, slammed her hand on the table and screamed, You guys try to understand the problem. Suddenly, a tiny boy with glasses popped out. He raised his hand and spoke, Excuse me, but there is a temporary registration system. If the contestant cannot be present, right? A dark-skinned guy interrupted him. Now that you say it, I remember hearing about this too. A blue-skinned guy asked, Is there really such a thing? Why didn't I know about it? Kyranos thought to herself, Of course you wouldn't know. This isn't a policy meant for low-level civilizations like yours. Wait, but if I use this cleverly, it might work. Okay, I got it. Snapping out of her thoughts, Kyranos slammed her hand down on the table. Resting her other hand on her hip, she arrogantly declared, If you fill out these papers by hand and submit them to me, I will register you. But if you can't do that, then just give up and go home. Lena quickly picked up the stack of papers to study them. At the same time, all eyes turned toward her. Realizing something was wrong, Rock jumped up and shouted, Wait, what is this? This isn't the common language. It's written in the language of a high-level civilization. How am I supposed to understand these scribbles? Just as Kyranos intended, she laughed gloatingly and replied, You don't know, that's too bad. Rock was furious, flailing his limbs wildly, and said, Of course I don't know. Now give me the one written in the common language. Kyranos turned away laughing gloatingly and replied, No, we don't have anything like that. The temporary registration system was created for the convenience of high-level civilizations. So of course it's written in a language familiar to them. Hearing this, two aliens outside started discussing. A blue-skinned one said, Oh no, this won't do. Come to think of it, why are you rushing to register right now? The other replied, Yeah, if there's no match coming up, just bring the contestant here. At this moment, Lena was diligently sitting there writing in that language. The scratching sounds gradually attracted the blue-skinned guy's attention. He turned toward Lena and asked, What is that sound? Rock startled and turned around, saying in surprise, What? You know that language? Beside them, Kyranos was also shocked, her jaw dropping, thinking to herself, That can't be possible. Taking the paper Lena had just finished, Kyranos still couldn't believe her eyes, thinking, They're just tricking me. A low-level civilization cannot know this language. How? How can a low-level civilization like yours read and write that language? With an Earthling's brain, even the characters in this language are hard to distinguish. Returning to the present time after hearing the whole story, the judge agreed with Kyranos' thought and said, Correct. It's impossible for someone from a low-level civilization to do this. So someone must be secretly helping them, right? Kyranos replied. I also guessed someone was secretly helping. I guessed that could happen, but I still couldn't find evidence. If that Earthling wrote that language herself, distinguishing characters as if finding differences in a picture, memorizing millions of words and vocabulary at the same time. No, even if they memorized it, they would still struggle to understand it in sentences. That means she didn't just memorize words, but also memorized every possible sentence structure. But helping them isn't a violation of the rules, so we can't cancel their registration. The judge replied, All right, I will think about that. First, they have someone willing to risk their life for their benefactor, and now there's someone who could secretly teach a high-level civilization's language without letting Kyranos know. It's as if the whole universe is begging to save this person. Fine, I'll let it slide this time. But it seems I need to curb your tricks a bit. Immediately after Judge Vertex extended his hand, accumulating a beam of light, then slowly all three of them vanished as if sucked away somewhere. Mark, witnessing the horrifying scene, quickly exclaimed, Team leader, that judge took Jin, one and some thug with him, and disappeared. Lena angrily screamed, Disappeared! Rock, seeing his brother insulted like that, scolded back, Did you just call my brother a thug, you brat? Seeing the tension between the two Kyranos, said, Don't overreact like that. Both of them were just transferred to the contestant recovery room. Lena replied, Why are you suddenly using such an informal tone, but... well, thank you. Kyranos quickly replied, Fine, now get out of here. 1 week later, GSP contestant recovery room. At this moment, Jin Wan was placed inside a glass tank filled with water with tangled wires wrapped around him. and a pair of legs that hadn't fully regenerated yet, looking at the lifeless boy right in front of him, having never seen anything like this. Mark couldn't help but ask skeptically, "Team leader, do you really think that tattered thing can still compete?" Lena replied, "Don't worry, he'll be well soon." Suddenly a voice spoke up behind them. "It's been a while since you made that bold declaration, but to me he seems to be clinging to life weakly." This made the two of them look at each other in surprise. A one-eyed old man with white hair and beard accompanied by 2 guards was approaching. "He is Clarice Ive, commander of the Earth GSP team." Then he spoke up to reprimand Lena. "It seems I placed too much trust in you, team leader. Therefore, I will proceed with the originally planned contestant for the match in 2 days." Lena hastily replied, "No, please, if you could just give us a little more time." At that moment, someone in a red shirt came rushing in from outside shouting, "Team leader Lena, don't be fooled by that fraud anymore." Then he leaped up, flying over the commander's head. Standing in front of Lena with a relatively cool pose, he grinned and told Lena, "Trust me." Then immediately pointed at himself and confidently continued, "Trust in the strongest man on Earth, Marcel Beth." But Lena paid no attention to him. She turned around, banging on the glass tank repeatedly, calling out, "Jinwan, wake up quickly." Meanwhile, Mark was looking at the man posing in front of him with question marks all over his face. The commander approached, patted Lena's shoulder, and consoled her. "Don't worry too much. Marcel is currently Earth's strongest and was personally chosen by me. Moreover, the armor he is wearing is the pinnacle of all knowledge humanity has accumulated so far. After this match, no civilization will dare to look down on Earthlings again. The people of planet Bajor rank 10,320th in the civilization rankings. Their homeland is composed of extremely hard rock surrounded by erupting lava and poisonous gas, earning it the name Hell Planet. The Bajorians have developed their bodies to the limit to survive in this hell. Our opponent this time, Croc Zebrik, is famous for his superior innate physical abilities. Therefore, the point we need to pay attention to in this match is..." Suddenly, a voice interrupted Lena's speech. "All right, that's enough. The opponent also belongs to a level 1 civilization like us, right?" After speaking, he raised his hand to stub out the half-smoked cigarette. This dark-skinned old man with a pure white beard is the coach of the free martial arts team Muscle Steel. He arrogantly told Lena, "Miss Propaganda Hostess, that explanation is enough." Looking up with a disdainful face while picking his nose, he asserted, "Leave the rest to us. You can go back now." "Oh, I heard there was a conflict with aliens, so the promotion center was destroyed, right? So you have nowhere to return to, do you? Why weren't you a bit more careful?" Hearing those sarcasm-filled words made Lena extremely angry, staring intently at him. Suddenly, a surveillance device flew over. It announced, "Contestants preparing for the next match, please move to the waiting area." Old man Muscle Steel stood up stretching and said, "Oh my, it seems we have to go out first." Lena quickly waved her hands to stop him. Wait a minute." Seeing him leave without paying attention to her, Lena immediately ran after him, saying, "The strategy I prepared." He reached out to block Lena and said, "Oh, stop right there. We don't need those things. Just relax and watch the match." Unable to stand his attitude any longer, Lena raised her fist and shouted angrily, "Listening to you all this time is unbearable. Where exactly are you getting that confidence from? Maybe because you've lived on Earth forever you don't know, but those aliens do not follow Earth's common sense at all. The ability to defeat a higher civilization through strategy and analysis means the outcome depends entirely on strategy, not to mention Earthlings' strength. We belong to the lowest tier in this universe." Unable to stand Lena's nagging any longer, the commander pulled out a gun and fired a warning shot towards Lena. With a fierce look, he warned, "Team leader Lena, those words don't seem very appropriate to encourage teammates before a match, do they?" Lena retorted, "You are the one living too far from reality because you are too obsessed with the universe." The commander continued, "Aren't you underestimating Earthlings too much?" At the same time, Marcel was standing tall, holding the bullet the commander just fired in his hand. Muscle Steel scratched his head and cursed, "Damn it, that old man actually dared to shoot." Marcel confidently told Lena, "We Earthlings have also spent 100 years preparing for this tournament. We have poured our entire budget time and manpower into it as if we have nothing left to lose. Do you understand?" Then, he put on his full-face helmet and kept posing in front of Lena. He raised a finger and told her, "Trust in me and cheer enthusiastically, team leader Lena." Then he quickly left. Lena couldn't stop worrying about these people who were disregarding their lives. She appeared extremely depressed and helpless. Entering the arena, the announcer's voice was the same as always. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for waiting. Next, we will begin the Group 8 preliminary match immediately. Meanwhile, Mark was sitting on some steps devouring cakes as if he had been starved for a long time. He kept looking anxiously in one direction, thinking, "Mr. Byomjong, when on Earth will you arrive?" Interrupting his thoughts, Lena walked up from behind. "What are you eating all by yourself? What is this? Is it edible?" Mark quickly looked up and replied, "Of course, you're here. By the way, I happened to meet some people who said they know you, team leader." Lena quickly turned and asked, "Acquaintances of mine." At that moment, Rock and Panong also suddenly appeared next to Mark. Lena turned to Rock and said, "Don't tell me you guys are following me." Rock replied, "We just met by chance. It really is a coincidence. By the way, you guys seem to have lucked out with the match schedule. His opponent this time isn't actually anything to worry about, right?" At this moment, the announcer's voice rang out again. "The contestants have entered the arena. Civilization rank 12,700, an extremely low rank. They have no way back. Representing Earthlings, Marcel Beth." Rock turned to Lena in surprise and asked, "Who on earth is that? That guy isn't your planet's representative." Panong answered instead, "He probably hasn't fully recovered yet." Lena asked Panong in surprise, "How do you know?" Panong raised his arm and asked Lena, "Do you recognize what this is?" Lena quickly looked up and replied, "Could this be a power suppression device, Pan?" Ong angrily replied, "That's right. When I got out of the recovery center, I found it stuck to my wrist. Depending on the individual, the position and shape will differ, but that guy definitely has one too. Think carefully. Is there anything strange about his body?" Lena rested her chin on her hand, thinking and mumbling, "Something strange, I remember now. He seemed to be wearing something on his neck. Is that it?" Mark curiously turned to ask Lena, "What is that power suppression device?" Lena glanced over and explained, "As the name suggests, it is a device used to suppress cosmic force. Some abilities can easily take a life with just a short usage. Civilizations possessing cosmic force are required to wear it when on other planets." Panong looked at the bracelet on his hand and continued, "Moreover, the device for contestants cannot be removed except during the match." Mark thought of Jinwan immediately and asked Lena, "Wait, so what that guy used wasn't martial arts?" Lena replied, "Correct. For now, I guess it's cosmic force. Super regeneration is a rare ability, although it is quite well known." Then Lena thought to herself, "However, the abilities Jinwan described regarding Earthlings have too many differences to be confirmed as cosmic force. During the time Jinwan was sealed, what on earth happened on Earth?" Interrupting Lena's thoughts, the announcer's voice rang out again. "Then now the next contestants will enter the arena. A race that has survived on the planet with the worst ecosystem in this vast universe, Civilization. Rank 10,320. The representative of the Bajorians." A rugged man with a fierce face told a young boy, "Hey, come here and confirm if that's the Earthling." The boy hurriedly ran over and replied, "Yes, yes, sir." He focused his gaze, staring at Marcel, and said, "Although it's hard to check his appearance because of the mask, it's probably him. Earthling bodies all seem to look the same. I definitely heard that Earthlings would send a representative to participate." The rugged man agreed with that and asked, "Is it really that guy?" The audience is currently cheering enthusiastically for their representative, continuously chanting. The rugged man holding 3 stone marbles in his hand was slowly stepping out. Suddenly, up in the stands, all the spectators looked extremely surprised. Seeing that person step out, the announcer shouted loudly. Murmurs of discussion arose as the rugged man gradually approached the ring. "Isn't that him? Who is this?" Realizing something was unusual, the announcer looked extremely angry and asked, "You rugged guy over there, who the hell are you to dare interfere in someone else's match?" The rugged man looked up, smiled happily, and replied, "I am the representative of the PC race Twinkies, ranked 1,300. Mark panic-strickenly exclaimed, "Team leader, APC person, isn't that—" The announcer screamed in frustration, "What the hell is this? I didn't ask for your real name, so why make such a fuss? Stop ruining the match and bring the contestant here right now, you punk." Twinkies smiled happily and explained, "If it's Crocs Zebrick, he can't participate in this match. Why don't you let me take his place in this match?" In the stands, the Bajorian spectators cursed heavily. "What nonsense is he spouting in this sacred arena? Get lost immediately. What did you do to Crocs, you bastard? Who is this crazy guy?" The announcer angrily shouted with a magical voice, "Shut up immediately!" causing all the Bajorians to clutch their heads in pain. He slammed his hand straight down on the table in frustration. The announcer, radiating an intense aura, looked towards Twinkies and bullied, "Hey, you bastard! You better think carefully before speaking your next words." Twinkies looked arrogant, picked his ear, and gloatingly replied, "Ah, then I'll get straight to the point." Then he pointed straight at Marcel and said indignantly, Because he is a GSP contestant, he doesn't face any punishment, but that Earthling is the murderer who killed my innocent clansman. Hearing this, all the spectators looked surprised and disgusted. An Earthling can kill a PC person? Is that possible? No way. Twinkies explained, I know it's hard for everyone to believe this, but as you all know, we all have to wear suppression devices. That cruel man exploited that weakness to kill my innocent clansman. Please give me a chance to avenge my clansman who died unjustly at his hands. The announcer asked in surprise, what is that true? I remember now the promotion area on Street 2 was completely destroyed. Mark, full of worry, reached out to Lena and said, Team leader, that's completely different from the truth. Lena quickly replied, don't worry. Anyway, logically speaking, how could that guy accept such a request? As soon as Lena finished speaking, the announcer announced, all right, you will participate in the match in his place, leaving Lena completely stunned. The announcer laughed gloatingly, thinking, a warrior risking his life to join someone else's match to avenge his clan. That's right, this match will definitely be more interesting than the narrative of those insects. Lena angrily shouted, what? Wait a minute. Meanwhile, Mark appeared extremely frightened and stopped Lena's crazy actions. Hey, team leader, don't do that! Suddenly, a Bajorian stood up and asked the announcer, then what will happen to our clan? But without a single wasted movement, his head exploded, scattering everywhere. Mark, terrified, quickly pressed Lena's head and hand down, saying, hurry up, put your hand down. It seemed everything was settled. The announcer declared, come on, the match has been delayed too long, we will continue right now. By my personal decision, I would like to introduce the contestant who will participate in place of the Bajorian. Civilization. Rank, 1-300, representative of the PC race, the greatest machine civilization in the universe. Twinkies. In this match that he risked his life to join, will he be able to successfully avenge his clan? Now then, let the match begin. Immediately after simultaneous chants from the audience directed at Marcel rang out, death to the murderer! Death penalty! Death penalty! Death penalty! Lena witnessed that scene through the TV screen. Lena, with a face full of frustration, approached. Mr. Clarice, why are you so calm? We must go protest to the tournament organizers right away. The commander calmly turned back and asked, what? Lena hurriedly pointed at the screen and shouted, what else? The contestant was changed in the middle of the match. This clearly violates tournament regulations. The commander calmly kept the cigar in his mouth. He continued, what would that change? She asked. What do you mean? The commander replied, did you not see who allowed this match to continue just now? That is one of the 6 gods of the entire universe, Ensapian Leviathan, and also the operator of this Sector 3 tournament. Who can stop the decision of a god? Seeing she couldn't persuade him, Lena scowled and slammed both hands on the table. Then she left in anger, not forgetting to swear under her breath, damn it. Tournament rules meant nothing from the start, right? Fine, then I will respond in the same way. Back at the arena, everyone was protesting against the Earth representative, chanting in unison, destroy the murderer. There were even aggressive spectators throwing rocks at Marcel, causing him to turn around in surprise. What is this? The atmosphere seems to have suddenly changed. Suddenly, Marcel's eyes met Twinkies. After searching his memory, he exclaimed, who is that? Isn't that the person I saw at the press conference this morning? It seems something happened when the armor malfunctioned. Well, it doesn't matter. Saying that, Marcel began to warm up his limbs, then planted his feet firmly on the ground, preparing his stance. Then he flashed forward, rushing straight towards the dwarf, shouting, what I need to do hasn't changed. For humanity, I will defeat the enemy before my eyes. Seeing the Earthling start the first attack, the dwarf widened his eyes, preparing to defend. When Marcel got close, the dwarf quickly jumped back, effortlessly dodging that powerful punch. Although the attack missed, it was just the beginning. Marcel calmly said, good reaction, but now is when things truly begin. Saying that, he continued to rush in for a second attack. But unlike before this time, Marcel activated his supernatural armor. His body rushed forward like a missile, radiating a powerful energy. After closing in on the target, he unleashed a barrage of merciless attacks upon the dwarf. In the stands, Mark screamed with joy, awesome, that guy is really no joke. Rock, with a pensive expression, spoke up. He's doing better than I thought. Is that really the Earthling? Panong remarked. Faced with those continuous attacks, Twinkies is completely helpless. Down below, Marcel suddenly raised his arm with pink and gold lightning crackling intensely. Then suddenly he unleashed a powerful lightning punch toward the dwarf's position. A massive explosion sent rocks and debris flying everywhere, looking at the ground, which was billowing with thick smoke and dust. After that attack, Marcel gently landed in a perfect pose. At the same time, the MC's voice rang out, that terrifying power is enough to shatter the arena floor. Is this the end for Twinkies? Contestant Marcel seems to be signaling a certain victory. Inside, the old commander still looks very worried, sweat pouring down his face. Looking at Marcel's proud confidence, he thought, once again you have achieved the impossible, just like the day we first met. Flashback to that time, the criminals were laughing gloatingly and calling out, "Great General of the government, where are you hiding? Just come out." The moment you knew our location, your death was already determined. The situation was getting increasingly tense. The commander called out to Marcel, "Hey, young man, I will distract the enemy. While I do that, escape and report this location to headquarters. And make sure to completely wipe out these crazy murderers." Outside, the murderers were searching every corner. Bang, bang, gunshots suddenly rang out, exciting them. "This rat. So that's where you were hiding," saying that they all turned back. Seeing Marcel's baffling actions, the old commander panicked and asked, "What are you doing?" Marcel smiled happily and replied, "General, your second mission was to destroy these crazy murderers. I will execute it immediately." The old commander tried hard to stop him. "Don't be so recklessly stupid." But Marcel was determined to leave, watching the retreating back of the young soldier. Then came the continuous screams of the murderers. "Over there! Government soldier, kill him!" "What is that?" "That monster got hit but won't go down, keep shooting, ah!" Leaving the commander sweating with worry. A while later, Marcel, covered in blood, loomed into view, dragging a murderer and throwing him in front of the commander. With a pained expression, he whispered, "Shall we return to headquarters to carry out the next mission?" Back in the present, while Marcel was busy celebrating his victory, a figure suddenly began to emerge from the smoke. The MC's voice screamed frantically, "It's Twinkies, the match is not over yet!" Looking at the dwarf's battered body, the MC commented, "However, it seems he has taken damage as he isn't moving at all." Marcel, startled, turned back and gave a thumbs up in silent praise. "Impressive. That endurance is truly remarkable." Then, quick as the wind, the arm Marcel had just raised with a thumbs up suddenly vanished. It seemed some force had severed it, sending it rolling on the ground. Marcel couldn't believe his eyes, panicking. What just happened?" Marcel's arm was ripped off and sent flying in the blink of an eye. Inside the room, hearing the MC's commentary, the old commander grew even more sorrowful, his face grimacing. Back in the arena, the dwarf was staring wide-eyed, pointing straight at Marcel with 3 iron balls floating above his head. Blood gushed from the wound onto the ground, leaving Marcel in agony, staggering in the middle of the arena. Even now, he still didn't understand why, only asking himself, what on earth is happening? The dwarf smiled smugly. "What are you surprised about, having fought us? You should know this well." Marcel asked in confusion. What do you mean?" As soon as he finished speaking, another wave of attack suddenly came, but this time it was aimed straight at Marcel's face, gradually blowing his mask away. Then his whole body toppled backward. Seeing Marcel lying flat on the ground with his eyes rolled back, the dwarf asked in confusion, "What is this? Is this really the one who killed Pick?" Then he turned to his kin and said, "Hey, Flop, check this guy's face carefully." Hearing the signal, Flop quickly opened his heavenly eye to observe. After looking for a while, he made an X sign with his hand signaling, "It's not him, it's someone else." Receiving the information, the dwarf slowly moved towards Marcel and said, "And here I thought there was no way Pick and Flop would be defeated by an idiot like this." When he reached Marcel, the dwarf's eyes suddenly glowed red. He pointed his hand straight forward and growled, "Where is that bastard?" Contestant Twinkies has ripped off Marcel's leg. Marcel is writhing in pain. Hearing the MC's words, the old commander grew even angrier, clenching his fist and slamming it onto the table. It seems there is no chance to turn the tables anymore. The match has now turned into a torture session for the Earthling. Seeing and hearing every word from the MC made Mark horrified, covering his mouth to stop himself from vomiting. Back in the arena, Marcel was being controlled by the dwarf floating in the air in a bizarre manner. Seeing this, the white-bearded old man shouted furiously, "Hey, you alien monster, that's enough! Marcel, the match is over. Hurry up and say you forfeit." Marcel's face was covered in blood, but he still tried to reply, "What do you mean, coach? This is a mission involving the lives of billions of people. How can I easily give up?" Saying that, Marcel immediately swung a punch with his last bit of strength, but the dwarf simply lowered his hand calmly. Marcel immediately fell and lay flat on the ground. Marcel's final attack with all his might has been blocked hopelessly. Hearing the MC's words, the dwarf covered his mouth and laughed triumphantly. It seems the Earthling's journey in this GSP tournament has come to an end. Hearing this, the old commander's face darkened with despair. Suddenly, Lena appeared from nowhere, her face dripping with sweat, panting as she said, "Who gave you the right to end our journey?" Saying that, Lena quickly threw something quite heavy into the arena, her face full of anger. With eyes full of determination, she shouted, "The Earthling's journey has only just begun." Looking at the messy bundle rolling on the floor, the dwarf didn't care and said, "What is that? Who threw this trash into the arena? Clean it up." Lena shouted an announcement. "Marcel, you did very well. Now leave the rest of the mission to him." "Yes." Flop seemed to realize what it was. He hurriedly informed the dwarf, "Prince, it's him. He's the one who killed Pick." The dwarf quickly glanced at the bundle, thinking, "Him? You mean that piece of trash that just flew in here? Ouch, my head." Hearing the voice, the dwarf was startled and looked over. Jinwan gritted his teeth in pain and said, "Before that, I couldn't feel any life signs at all. How is that possible? Damn it, that lanky guy. Next time I meet him, I'll definitely kill him." Waking up from the pain, Jinwan looked around in bewilderment, smirking and wondering, "And where is this place now?" Rewinding to 30 minutes ago while Marcel was trying to struggle up. Seeing the situation, the MC bluntly declared, "The outcome is that Marcel has fallen. What a hopeless situation, unable to counterattack." In the stands, Rock said thoughtfully, "Titch just as predicted. I knew there was a little hope, but the power gap is too big." Beside him, Mark worriedly pulled out his phone to call, "Team leader, where are you? We might be doomed." "What? Why do you suddenly want me to come there?" "Ah, fine, I'm coming. Stop yelling." After rushing inside, Mark looked around in bewilderment, wondering, "Gate 5 is here, right? What's going on all of a sudden?" In the distance, the voices of two robots chasing someone rang out repeatedly. "Earthling, put the patient down immediately. Resistance will only lead to violence." The person running was Lena, carrying a bundle on her back. Seeing Mark arrive, Lena called out, "Come here. Hurry up and stop them, seeing the situation ahead." Mark panicked and scrambled to turn and run away. Seeing that, Lena shouted in frustration, "Hey, I told you to stop them. Where do you think you're running?" While running, Jinwan's head suddenly popped out of the black bundle. Seeing that, Mark asked angrily, "How the hell am I supposed to stop them? And where are you taking him? What the hell are you doing? Stop being so crazy." Lena smiled triumphantly and replied, "Doing what? This is Earth's hope." Mark asked in surprise, "Are you mocking Earthlings?" Lena ignored the question and said, "I'll explain later, but for now..." Saying that, she suddenly swung her fist. She punched Mark straight in the face, knocking him to the ground, and said, "Try to buy some time. Patient escaping. Let me go." "Where are you taking me?" Mark's voice rang out continuously from behind, making Lena feel a bit guilty. "I won't forget your sacrifice, Mark." On this side, Flop was standing in deep thought. "Damn it, where are those Earthlings?" At that moment, Lena arrived right behind him. Chasing her, the two robots continued to scream, "Earthling, stop right there! This is the final warning!" Hearing that, Flop curiously glanced over, thinking Earthling. Seeing Lena carrying Jinwan on her shoulder and running right past him, Flop couldn't help but exclaim in surprise, You! As the MC's voice rang out, "It seems the Earthling's journey in the GSP tournament ends here." Lena threw Jinwan from her shoulder straight into the arena. With a determined look, she shouted, "Who gave you the right to put an end to us?" Seeing the strange object fall into the arena, the MC shouted in bewilderment, "Hey, what the hell are you doing? What is this?" At the same time, the robots subdued Lena, pinning her tightly to the ground. The MC angrily shouted at the two idiots, "Hurry up and throw that piece of trash that girl threw in out of here immediately." Lena angrily gritted her teeth and screamed, "Trash! The warrior who single-handedly defeated two PC members is trash. That right there is Earth's representative, the mad demon Jinwan. He fought on par with Vertex, the judge of Sector 3. Panung, witnessing the scene, said, "Ha, she intentionally left out the important part. Well, whatever, it has nothing to do with me." The audience, after hearing that, buzzed with discussion. What, that Vertex? No way, must be a joke. But wasn't there just an explosion on Street Z? Meanwhile, Lena remained determined in her actions. She continued shouting, "If you allowed the opposing player to be replaced to create an opportunity for revenge, then I've brought the real opponent here now. Except this replacement contestant." Rock, upon hearing those words, was startled and wondered, "Huh? Is she planning to challenge an Insapian? She really has guts." The MC, after hearing the proposal, put his hand to his forehead to think for a moment, then smirked and said, That's not bad. But it's too late. The match has ended. Once it's over, there are no rematches." Suddenly, Marcel woke up, pointed his finger at his chest, and boldly declared, "It's not over yet. I, Marcel, haven't lost yet." "Oh, you're not dead yet." "Fine, then. I allow the substitution." After witnessing everything, the old commander felt somewhat relieved and said, "You've done enough, Marcel." Outside, Lena appeared extremely satisfied. She smiled and said, "All right, like this, the future of Earth?" When suddenly 2 robots grabbed her, lifted her up and said, "Shut up, Earthling, you're coming with us. Pay the price for this mess." Saying that the 2 of them dragged Lena out of the arena despite her pleading and begging. The dwarf finally understood the situation, turned towards Jinwan and thought, "Defeated 2 PC members. Oh, this piece of trash lying here. But is he even alive?" Back to the present. Seeing Jinwan stand up to fight, the MC announced, "Unbelievable. No! Earth's representative Jinwan has completely revived," but in reality inside he was frowning and thinking, "Oh, regeneration ability, this is getting interesting." Down in the arena, Jinwan was still bewildered by everything. He crossed his arms, looked up at the MC who just spoke, and wondered, "It's been so noisy for a while. Where the hell is this place?" "I've been looking for you." The dwarf's voice rang out from behind, making Jinwan angry. With glowing red eyes and gritting teeth, he turned around. The dwarf's eyes lit up as he happily continued, "Finally, I can take my revenge." Jinwan laughed disdainfully and replied, "Ha, what is this energy similar to that bunch earlier? I have no interest in weaklings like you," saying that Jinwan immediately started to leave. Seeing this, the MC spoke sarcastically, "Oh, what is this? The Earth representative is just walking out of the arena." He turned his back on Twinkies. Jinwan didn't care about that at all. He just scratched his head, looking very bewildered, and said, "First I need to find that girl Lena and ask her something." But suddenly the dwarf teleported quickly and grabbed Jinwan's arm tightly. Making him angry, he glanced back with bloodshot eyes and said, "You're persistent, aren't you? I told you I have no interest in weaklings." Suddenly Jinwan's body was lifted into the air. He immediately understood the situation, and his expression began to change. A smug smile appeared on his lips as he said, "Not bad? And here I was planning to let you go." Saying that, Jinwan immediately swung his arm back, preparing for an attack. Bam! A rainbow punch created a beautiful curve, smashing straight into the dwarf's face. But suddenly sensing something, his eyes gradually glanced down. Looking at his black, deformed fingers, he wondered, "What is wrong with this body?" The dwarf grinned triumphantly and growled, "Not only did you kill my compatriots, but you also mock us. You insect who doesn't know your place." Saying that, the dwarf quickly grabbed Jinwan's arm and rotated his body 45 degrees. He slammed Jinwan straight into the ground with a thud. The brutal force of the attack crushed the rocks and sent debris flying. Jinwan was furious. He gritted his teeth tightly, his eyes rolling back white. He jumped high, somersaulting in the air to escape the grip. Then he landed on one hand in an incredibly cool pose. Then he gently raised his hand, bewildered. "What did that skinny guy do to my body? I can't use any martial arts other than the immortal spirit route. Tisk, no other choice." Saying that, the main character calmly stood up. At that moment, the dwarf's massive fist arrived. Jinwan smiled with excitement and said to himself, "It's been a while, let's try fighting the old-fashioned way." At this moment, the dwarf's fist immediately tore Jinwan's lower body in two, but his upper body suddenly flew up, using the dwarf's large hand as a stepping stone to get close to his face. Saying, "What can a low-class thing like you do?" He began to raise his hand. He jabbed straight into the dwarf's eyes, causing blood to spray out like a fountain. The dwarf clutched his eyes in pain, screaming, "Ah, my eyes!" But it didn't stop there. Jinwan continued by shoving his thumb into the dwarf's mouth. With his other hand, he struck the dwarf's jaw hard, lodging his finger inside. Jinwan, with an excited expression, continued, "There, be a good boy and eat it." The dwarf went mad, cursing, "You piece of trash," while simultaneously clapping his 2 huge hands together. Jinwan's body was crushed, just like that, blood splattering like autumn rain. Looking at the lower part of the corpse remaining on the arena floor, the MC's voice continued to shout loudly, shocked by Twinkie's overwhelming power crushing Jinwan's upper body. Then suddenly, thick white smoke began pouring out of the dwarf's mouth, making him scream in panic, What did you feed me? As long as you regenerate, I will crush you again." Then immediately a hand slowly emerged from the dwarf's mouth. Jin's terrifyingly gloomy voice, Wan's voice also rang out from there. "Let me give you exactly what you want." At the same time, Jinwan's hand reached out and grabbed the dwarf's face tightly. Then a whole body slowly emerged, smiling with satisfaction. Witnessing that horrific scene, Rock couldn't help but be surprised. "Wow, I didn't expect regeneration ability could be used to attack like that." "Brother, if attacks like this are repeated a few more times," Panong sweated and replied, "Yeah, Earth might actually win this match easily." Oh my. The fighting skills are fine, but the ability to assess other people's matches is terrible. Unfortunately, that last move was Earth's only chance to win. Hearing the sudden voice from behind, Panong quickly turned around and the person continued, Twinkies won't expose such an opening again. In that case, that Earthling's chance of winning is 0. Absolutely no way to win. Rock turned around and asked, Hey, why are you suddenly sitting with us? The mysterious person replied, Why so cold? Nice to meet you. I am Akraman, an ordinary cosmic journalist. I started getting interested in your brother, the one who defeated Agni. Finishing her sentence, she leaned in, put her pen on Panong's head, and continued writing. Moreover, your brother also blocked an attack from Vertex, the one called Invincible. Panong, startled, glared back and replied, How do you know that very few people know about my involvement in that battle? The journalist laughed and continued, I told you journalists always have ways to know everything. Panong asked, Then why do you say that Earthling's chance of winning is 0? He's the one who confronted Vertex head-on in that fierce battle. The journalist calmly said, Well, even though Vertex's energy at that time was only 1/10,000th of his original power, surviving his hands is indeed a miracle. But that's only because of his regeneration ability that he barely survived. Compared to a warrior full of spirit, how can a beast that only knows how to stay alive compare? Rock quickly interrupted. But surviving against a judge is enough to reach a level 3 civilization, the journalist scolded. I mean, you guys, just because of one victory, you dare to look down on the representative of an entire high-level civilization. Don't underestimate the hundreds of years of experience of a civilization ranked 1,300 in the entire universe. Down in the arena, Jinwan began to rush forward to attack again with an extremely angry face. The dwarf's entire body suddenly emitted eerie golden lights, crackling like lightning. Then he swung his arm up, turning it into a giant sphere above his head. His face was extremely furious. He slammed that sphere onto the ground, creating an explosion that blew everything away. After witnessing this, Rock looked terrified and turned to ask, What is that? Where did that giant thing come from? The journalist replied, What do you mean, where did it come from? It was there from the beginning. Rock surprisedly continued, There from the beginning, don't tell me those small balls in his hand. The journalist explained, Most creatures in the universe underestimate the ability to control magnetic fields, thinking it's limited to affecting metal. But Twinkies is the only one who can control metal at the molecular level, compressing them with extremely high density to carry easily. Back in the arena. Although the dwarf's attack was extremely powerful and unexpected, Jinwan still survived thanks to his strong regeneration power. He suddenly rushed up with a punch aimed straight at the dwarf's head. But immediately his arm was deformed as if he had punched a giant block of iron. Before Jinwan could think further, the dwarf quickly counterattacked with a blow that tore Jinwan's body apart again. Witnessing that scene, Rock couldn't hold back his anger, rushing out to curse, What that PC alien had that power all along and hid it to toy with us. The journalist continued, Toy with from the perspective of someone from a level 1 civilization, you might think so. Rock glanced fiercely at the journalist. Seeing the tension, the journalist soothed, Hey, don't get angry. I didn't mean to mock you. This GSP is a tournament watched by the entire universe, right? In other words, this is a massive event happening once every 100 years, an opportunity for civilizations to promote their technology and signature products. But on such a big stage, revealing all trump cards just to fight an Earthling, even if they win, the damage is too great. Moreover, the type of metal Twinkies is using, for PC aliens it's no different from their hearts. Using it to deal with a level 1 civilization must be considered an insult. PC aliens, the best blacksmiths in the universe. From birth, they carry hundreds of grams of iron in their bodies. After 6 months, this iron begins to accumulate in the body and is expelled through an act called iron vomiting. The expelled iron is called soul steel. Although it is a metal with low durability and almost no usage value, everyone on planet PC considers soul steel a part of their body just like a guardian deity. However, a few years after the Galactic Alliance arrived, the meaning of iron vomiting completely changed. PC aliens always avoided disputes and wars. They suffered a miserable defeat the first time they participated in the GSP tournament. Afterward, this match was broadcast throughout the universe, and our peace-loving civilization became an object of ridicule and mockery. And finally, under the guise of trade, our resources were plundered. The king couldn't bear to see his people suffer. He started an experiment that no one could imagine. That was forcing infants to eat metal during the first 6 months of their lives. He believed that the accumulated iron in the body would make the soul steel stronger. However, more than 70% of the children participating in the experiment could not vomit that iron and died due to abnormal flow in their bodies. The lucky children who survived only created soul steel that were mediocre, worthless pieces of metal. However, exactly 1% of the chosen few created a powerful metal never seen before. And the king's beloved prince, me Twinkies, also overcame the challenge known as the deadly iron vomiting. I became the master of eternal steel, the strongest metal in the universe, with a mass of up to 10 million grams. But what materialized before my eyes was a metal of such pitifully poor quality. A few days later, I finally discovered the true origin of the eternal steel. The assistant told me that his grandson passed away right after the iron vomiting due to side effects. And at that time he received news from his old friend the king and decided to hand over the eternal steel. Afterward, although others were called, the old assistant was no longer of this world. Since that day, I determined that I would use the eternal steel to raise our civilization to the highest position. Back to the match. Jinwan began to rise. Witnessing that the MC suddenly shouted, "Impossible contestant, Ma Jinwan is starting to move." The dwarf turned around in panic, thinking, "What?" Watching Jinwan slowly stand up, the dwarf stammered in panic. "This is truly absurd!" Then his eyes widened as he wondered, "I am from a level 3 civilization, and even my cosmo energy is running out. Yet that guy only belongs to a level 1 civilization. How does he still have energy?" Snapping out of his thoughts, the dwarf stared at Jinwan and smiled with a hidden meaning. Seeing the two standing and looking at each other, the MC began to speak. "An unbelievable scene, the Earthling is doing it again. It's happening once more. Truly an endless series of events. Just how long can he keep recovering?" As soon as the sentence ended, the dwarf began to raise his hand, twisting it to activate his ability. Then he created a sharp iron sphere, like a drill, squeezed his eyes shut and cursed, "You damn insect, I will kill you until you can no longer recover." But after opening his eyes, he saw that Jinwan had vanished from sight. Quick as the wind, Jinwan suddenly appeared right in front of the dwarf, leaving him panic-stricken, wondering what his movements are completely different from before. Contestant Ma Jinwan, he is rushing straight towards Twinkies with terrifying speed. Hearing the MC's commentary, the journalist said, "Not bad, but no matter how hard he tries, it's useless. The skin of PC aliens is harder than ordinary steel." At the same time, Jinwan's hand slapped straight into the dwarf's face, causing blood to suddenly splatter across his face. The MC's voice continued, "Twinkies. His right cheek has been torn open by Ma Jinwan's attack." This made the journalist break out in a cold sweat in surprise, but he was no amateur. The dwarf immediately counterattacked with his sharp iron sphere, smashing it straight into Jinwan's body. Surprisingly, Jinwan did not fall. He quickly counterattacked with a punch following a perfect curve, knocking the dwarf away. Then he continued to jump high into the air. With an excited expression, he unleashed a kick. In a panic, the dwarf could only wonder, did he hide such terrible power? Saying that, Jinwan quickly channeled power into his hands. Brilliant golden light surrounded them. Without saying much, boom, a massive explosion immediately occurred, blowing away the entire arena floor. A giant explosion. Contestant Earthling. Is it possible that besides regeneration, he possesses other powers? Hearing the MC's words, Lena hurriedly glanced over. Staring at the TV screen, she shouted, "Well done, Ma Jinwan! I knew you wouldn't let me down!" At the same time, the robot's voice immediately shouted, "Shut up and stand still, you Earthling!" Outside the arena, the explosion with its powerful destructive force affected even Flop. He immediately raised his hand to shield his face. With a panicked and fearful face, he trembled and exclaimed, "Impossible, Prince Twinkies!" The journalist could only speak sheepishly. Who could have expected him to hide such ability? This turns the situation completely upside down. PC aliens are famous for their physical strength and solid defense capabilities. But with the speed of that attack, there's no way they could react in time to block it. Immediately after the explosion ended, surprisingly, the dwarf was still standing tall with the giant iron sphere blocking Jinwan. Seeing the situation, Rock couldn't help but be surprised. But before he could react, the journalist pointed her finger and retorted, "Hey, so what if you saw it? Don't make such a big deal out of it." Seeing his attack blocked, Jinwan didn't seem too annoyed. He just sighed, "Tisk, this thing is really hard." Immediately after saying that, a sharp iron spike created by the sphere stabbed straight into Jinwan's stomach. The dwarf, looking furious with one painful eye squeezed shut, cursed, "You lowly insect, don't be so arrogant. Even if you die and come back to life, you will never pierce this eternal steel. As long as I have the eternal steel, the strongest metal in this universe, the result will never change." At this moment, hundreds of spikes sprouted out, piercing holes into Jinwan's body. As if remembering something, Jinwan frantically exclaimed, "Metal!" Then suddenly rays of light crackling like lightning began to surround Jinwan's arm. But realizing something ominous, the dwarf's face suddenly turned horrified. He then hurriedly controlled the iron sphere to form a round block, creating a shield layer surrounding his body. But surprisingly, this time, Jinwan was able to pierce through that iron layer, rushing in to grab the dwarf's face tightly, throwing him backwards. It happened so fast. The dwarf, looking panicked, thought, "What the hell is this? The pride of our civilization, eternal steel, has been pierced." Suddenly, Flop's voice rang out, "Prince Twinkies! He can also control magnetic fields!" The dwarf looked extremely surprised. Glancing at Jinwan, he wondered, how can a level 1 civilization use more than 2 types of cosmoforce? At this moment, golden streaks began to appear on Jinwan's face. In his hand was an iron bar taken from that sphere. Then he quickly rushed to the dwarf's position to attack. Looking at the iron bar glowing with crackling lightning, the dwarf shouted in panic, "That? What is that? How dare you touch my eternal steel?" Immediately after, the dwarf controlled the iron sphere to surround his body, creating a bulky suit of armor. Then quickly launched a surprise attack on Jinwan. Lying flat on the ground, Jinwan thought, "Damn it, is it impossible to regain control of the metal he is manipulating?" Jinwan slowly stood up with his body no longer intact, his eyes full of despair, thinking, "What should I do now? That armor doesn't look easy to pierce. Armor? Wait. Thinking carefully, it seems I've seen this somewhere before." Recalling a time in the past when Jinwan was still a child, sitting on the ground listening to the mockery of a man in iron armor. "Kid, you chose the wrong opponent. If you want to take down this old man known as the undefeated Iron King, you should at least bring the Amazon sect here. Well then, let me deal with you personally." In the way of the martial arts world, suddenly a man wearing a conical hat stood up to intervene. "Master of the Black Tortoise armor, one of the 7 great treasures of the martial arts world, O Mandat. It's ridiculous that you only know how to show off your strength in front of a child." The armored man asked, "Who are you? Why interfere in my business?" The man in the conical hat smiled slightly and replied, "Why are you feeling a bit tense because I'm not a child? Truly an arrogant brat." Saying that, the armored man quickly swung his hammer. Snapping out of those vague thoughts, Jinwan seemed to wake up. At the same time, his entire body had fully healed. Jinwan hesitated no longer and rushed to the dwarf's position, slipping behind him and grabbing his arm tightly. Then he used the true chi-shattering fist, and immediately countless bright circles tore through the ground and rushed into the dwarf's body. Very quickly after that, jets of blood began to spray out from the armor. Watching the dwarf's body slowly falling, Jinwan looked excited. "Truly formidable metal, but it seems you forgot the most important thing. No matter how famous the sword is, the outcome of the battle lies not in the sword, but in the person wielding it." A moment later, a robot crept up to observe. Seeing the dwarf lying motionless, it reported the result to the MC. About 3 seconds later, the MC's voice announced, "We have a result. Athlete Twinkies cannot continue competing. The match is officially over." As soon as the words ended, Flop was left in shock and fear. The scene shifts outside. The journalist was walking hesitantly, full of surprise. "The entire universe has existed for nearly 15 billion years since the beginning of time. Even though cosmic power is infinite, I thought nothing new could happen anymore. Why is there no information about this Earthling's special phenomenon? Even our civilization's information network doesn't have it. Is this the appearance of a new ability, or has someone intentionally hidden it? Earthlings, truly interesting." Back in the arena, the MC excitedly pointed at Jinwan and declared, "Group 8 preliminaries. The winner of this match is Earth's representative Ma Jinwan, a warrior of a level 1 civilization, winning once again." Hearing this, the old commander also felt surprised and said, "Team leader Lena's words turned out to be true. I didn't expect such a monster to exist among Earthlings. Perhaps we are witnessing a historic moment." Meanwhile, on Jinwan's side, suddenly he started controlling power from the iron sphere, pulled out a sword, and stared at the MC. So, in this tournament, there have been 3 level 1 civilizations defeating higher-level civilizations. Immediately after the MC's declaration, Jinwan shouted, "Found you!" and immediately jumped up, rushing towards the MC. With a furious face, he screamed, "Since earlier, that strange energy of yours has been bothering me. It turns out it's you. You are the one standing at the peak of this world. White mist, slash." Immediately after Jinwan's attack made contact, his sword instantly shattered, leaving Jinwan angry and surprised. Very quickly after that, his entire body was blown away and deformed, leaving only a bare white skeleton. After witnessing that scene, the old commander stood up abruptly, his mouth wide open in horror. Meanwhile, the MC calmly said, "Consider what I said earlier withdrawn. This match ends with no winner. Hey, someone clean up that mess." The robot spoke up. "Lord Leviathan, the match you broadcast live has topped the viewership ratings for this time slot." The MC turned back in surprise and asked, What did you say?" The robot replied, "Just now the number of live viewers for the match surpassed 800 billion. Currently among the 5 regions broadcasting the match, this is the region with the highest viewership rating at this time." The MC excitedly asked, "Highest viewership, really?" The robot quickly replied, "That's right. It's the first time in 900 years. Hearing this, the MC became incredibly excited, jumping up and shouting, "I knew it! How could I possibly lose to them in popularity?" Then suddenly turning to the one cleaning up Jinwan's pile of bones, he asked, Wait, what are you doing?" The cleaner quickly replied, "Huh? Didn't you just tell me to clean this thing up?" Before he could finish his sentence, the MC blew a blast of power, rushing in and blowing away his physical body instantly. Then glaring down, he growled, "This thing, you really have no respect when referring to our star, do you?" So who will be responsible for taking care of our star? If possible, entrusting him to someone from the same civilization would be best. On this side, the guard robot was saying something to Lena. "Did you hear that clearly? This is something of value far beyond your civilization's imagination, and you were the one who broke that treasure." Lena sighed and mumbled, Yeah. Then she squeezed her eyes shut with a scowl, thinking, how is the match going? Clearly in the middle of the match, Jinwan seemed to still be leading. Twinkies is one of the strongest I've ever heard of. Seeing Lena standing there dazed, the robot shouted, "Hey, are you listening to me?" Snapping out of her thoughts, Lena quickly replied, Yes, I've heard about Twinkie's power." The robot got annoyed. "Hey, you're not listening to anything I say, are you?" Suddenly, a robot flew up behind Lena and announced, "Earthling, follow me. Lord Leviathan says you should take your own contestant back yourself." Lena turned around, her face flushed red, and asked, "Leviathan is that Insapian guy, why get involved with him?" Damn it! What trick is that primitive man playing now? Saying that, Lena quickly left. Upon arrival, the robot reported, "I have brought the Earth Girl Lord Leviathan." The MC sat with his chin resting on his hand, smiling excitedly, and said, You're here. Calling you here is no big deal. It's just that I see your civilization's contestant would have a hard time returning on his own. Although his current appearance is somewhat miserable, I've already performed first aid. Take him to the recovery room and he'll be fine eventually." In front of Lena now, Jinwan's dry skeleton was being contained inside a sphere floating in midair. Then she quickly stepped forward to embrace Jinwan's remains. The scene shifts to some time later. Jinwan's eyes suddenly lit up blood-red and fierce. Then he sprang up, looking around, bewildered at the strange surroundings. Where on earth is this? Lena, after days of exhausting care, heard Jinwan's voice and quickly looked up in surprise. "Wow, you really came back to life. Indeed, that energy is truly extraordinary. It was worth the effort." To reinstall the suppression unit after recovery. Jinwan glanced at her with a furious expression and asked, "Why are you here? And what are all these things?" Lena quickly moved to Jinwan's side, smiled, and replied, "Calm down. These are just devices to help you recover." Jinwan's face turned red with anger as he said, "Help me who dares to have the audacity to help me." Lena smiled happily and replied, "Who else? It's you yourself, a member of the weakest civilization in the universe, Earth." Then pointing at the collar Jinwan was wearing, she said, "As long as you wear that collar called the suppression unit, you are just an ordinary earthling like us." Jinwan was provoked into a rage, his eyes turning white as he struggled and screamed, "Shut up! I will throw away this piece of trash immediately." Lena calmly said, "See, currently you can't even walk out on your own." After struggling in vain for a while, Jinwan panted in exhaustion. Then he silently closed his eyes tight to calm his mind, thinking, "What is happening? My acupoints are clearly not sealed yet. I can't feel any internal energy flowing through my body. More importantly, how do you feel after directly experiencing the GSP tournament?" The unexpected question snapped Jinwan out of his thoughts, opening one eye. With a bewildered face, he asked, "What is GSP?" Lena replied, "I mean the martial arts tournament where you were sent as Earth's representative to participate." Hearing this, Jinwan immediately frowned suspiciously and smirked. "Don't tell me." Lena smiled slightly and explained, "That's right. The place where you fought that steel guy was the GSP arena." "Well, don't you want to try participating in that tournament again? If you agree, I will release you from these devices immediately." "Shut up. Release me and remove these restraints immediately." Hearing Jin Wan's uncooperative attitude, Lena thought, Indeed, threats like this don't work, do they? No other choice then. I have to try the next method even though it's a bit risky." Having thought it through, Lena picked up the remote and pressed the button. Instantly, the devices binding Jin Wan's limbs slowly opened, but immediately after Jin Wan grabbed Lena by the neck. Showing an extremely angry face, he growled, "If you don't want to be torn apart right now, remove that thing on my neck too." Suddenly, a foot and a tapping cane approached Team Leader Lena. "You said you needed to see me, so I came. What is going on? Are you two arguing over a relationship matter?" Jin Wan turned around in bewilderment and asked, "And what is that thing over there?" Lena laughed with delight and said, "Jin Wan, that thing on your neck, you can't remove it by yourself. So why not try a simple bet? If you fight that guy over there and win, I will remove that device for you immediately and never bother you again. But if you lose, you will have to take his place in all the remaining qualifying matches." Scene 3 shifts to the planet's communal kitchen. Jin Wan devoured a plate of food while asking, "When do we fight? I want to get rid of this damn restraint immediately." Lena quickly glanced over and replied, "What are you talking about?" "We came here because you were hungry." What Jin Wan immediately protested. "My stomach feels like it's about to explode." "Do you people feel this every day?" Lena replied in boredom. "You talk as if this is the first time you felt hungry." Jin Wan quickly raised his voice. "Not all of them, but at least they were better than you weak future people." Lena angrily turned and provoked, "Weak? Let's see if you can still say that after fighting Marcel here." Jin Wan immediately looked at Marcel and mocked, "Are you talking about that idiot?" Seeing that Lena shouted, "Marcel, don't just eat like that, say something." Marcel immediately introduced himself. Well, I have over 40 martial arts black belts and I was trained in many lethal techniques from the military even if I lost a limb or two." Jin Wan quickly cut him off, staring at Marcel and provoking, "The result won't change whether you have all your limbs or not." Hearing this, Marcel couldn't hold back, stood up, slammed the table and chair. "You bastard!" Meanwhile, Jin Wan smirked smugly. "I'm just telling the truth, so don't waste time and admit defeat." Marcel turned up the volume and screamed, "Now that I think about it, you're the reason I lost that limb." "Speaking of revenge," Jin Wan interrupted, "don't blame your weakness on others, you coward." "What did you just say?" "Do you think you can just say whatever you want?" Seeing the two arguing endlessly, Lena spoke up to mediate. "All right, since you're both full, let's settle this once and for all." Scene shifts to basement level 80, GSP training arena. Stepping inside, a spacious area appeared. Lena told the two, "We're here. Now you guys can fight without being disturbed." Jin Wan indifferently said, "We could have settled it at the restaurant, but you chose to come all the way here." Lena quickly explained, "The future isn't a violent era like yours. You can't just fight wherever you want." Jin Wan walked calmly, mocking, "Seems the future is full of cowards." Suddenly, Marcel's voice called out from behind, "Wait, Team Leader Lena! We're cooperating for Earth, but this doesn't seem right. I was a bit agitated earlier, but that guy also defeated Twinkies, didn't he? Even if he's locked by the suppression collar, I don't think I can stand against him. And in this condition, how can I compete?" Lena smiled happily, pointed at Marcel, and encouraged, "Don't worry, everything has been prepared." Then she waved her hand and called out, "Hey, wait a moment, we have to install a few things." Jin Wan turned back disdainfully and mocked, "Prepare, so you didn't propose a fight without a plan, huh? By the way, the guy next to you seems a bit scared. Is he okay?" Then Lena brought out a box. Inside, white smoke was pouring out. Marcel didn't understand and asked, "Team Leader, what is this?" At the same time, Lena quickly attached the iron leg to Marcel and replied, "This is your new leg. Try it out. It might be a bit uncomfortable at first, but it will automatically adjust to your body soon." Marcel couldn't believe his eyes and asked, "Really? Is this a prosthetic leg from planet Atanos?" Lena calmly replied, "You recognized it. But how did you get something so expensive?" Lena replied, I used a bit of my savings and asked for some help from a teammate. I thought buying an arm too would be a bit much." Meanwhile, Mark was losing money without knowing why. Touched by Lena's kindness, Marcel immediately slapped her shoulder hard, with a teary, grateful face. "Thank you. I will do my best this time, even if I have to sacrifice my life." Lena quickly interrupted, No need to go that far." Seeing the two whispering for a long time, Jin Wan shouted angrily, "Not done yet! I want to remove this damn collar as soon as possible!" Marcel, with a face full of determination, stepped forward. "Wait a moment, I'm coming right now." "Marcel, Lena's call made Marcel spin around. Before you fight, I have to say this. Jin Won spoke up provocatively. I thought you were preparing something amazing. Turns out it's just a prosthetic leg. Then Marcel raised his hand decisively. Shut up. This prosthetic leg isn't something you can talk about casually. Lena beside him also couldn't hold back and spoke up. That's right, don't be arrogant. Hearing those words, Jin Won smiled excitedly and said, arrogant. The arrogant ones here aren't me, but you guys. Saying that he lowered his legs while extending his arms, preparing for an attack, then immediately leapt towards Marcel. But Marcel, though disabled, was not useless. He gently dodged to the side, evading the attack. Seeing his attack neutralized, Jin Won shifted his hips to attack with a second blow, but this time Marcel simply ducked and dodged it. At the same time, he thought, what is this movement? With his attacks continuously neutralized, Jin Won went mad, his eyes glowing white and his hand preparing to unleash a special move. But it seemed too simple for Marcel. He just lay down, supporting himself with his hands on the ground, eyes furious like a wild beast gritting his teeth. He unleashed a lightning-fast kick to Jin Won's face, causing Jin Won to lose resistance and somersault in the air, then landed unconscious in astonishment. Marcel looked down at the motionless body, momentarily unable to believe his eyes, thinking, is it really true what Lena said? Back to that conversation. You told me not to be afraid after his previous match, Lena said. Right. If you fight normally, victory is easy. Marcel asked skeptically, I will do my best, but why are you so confident? The opponent is... Lena smiled happily and said, don't worry. Right now, his physical ability is worse than a normal person. That suppression collar isn't designed for low-level civilizations. Basically, most systems in the Galactic Federation, like the temporary registration system, are created to suit high-level civilizations. They don't account for lower civilizations like us. To put it bluntly, it's like giving an elephant sedative to a mouse. Since he isn't using any martial arts right now, he doesn't fully understand the collar's capabilities. But when the fight starts, the collar will react strongly to control the force used. Back to the present. Marcel watched Lena leave, thinking, but suppression collars are usually used for level 2 civilizations. How does team leader Lena know about the side effects on a level 1 civilization? Interrupting Marcel's thoughts, Lena spoke up. 25 years. It's been a long time. In the past, the Galactic Federation also turned a blind eye to that damn space trading organization. While hiding, I gathered a lot of information. Now that someone mastering the weapon called knowledge has appeared. Watch out, you damn aliens. Suddenly, Jin Won scrambled up, cursing angrily. Damn it, if not for this damn collar! Lena completely ignored him. She quickly said, Marcel, I have something to do and must leave. Let's stop here for today. Marcel turned back in confusion and asked, Team leader Lena, will this kind of training really help for the next match? Like he just said. If it weren't for the suppression collar, someone like me... Hearing this, Lena suddenly paused. Then she sighed helplessly. Marcel, what do you think is the difference between us and higher civilizations? Marcel frowned and replied, I think it's the ability to use Cosmos Force. Lena explained, that statement isn't wrong. But if looking at the bigger picture, it is the potential for development by breaking the limits of common sense and physical limits. For level 1 humans like us, things like projecting fire outside the body or continuously creating weapons are all beyond common sense. But for higher civilizations, they are as natural as breathing. Perhaps if humanity advances to a higher level, the impossible will become possible, like flying in the sky on our own or growing 8 limbs. And the way to measure this potential is through knowledge corresponding to each rank of civilization. The amount of knowledge accessible to higher civilizations is immeasurably vast. And knowledge, in the end, is how you use it. If you don't try to learn, you won't even know your own weaknesses and will become a loser. In Ma Jinwan's case, because the first match attracted too much attention, it's highly likely that all information revealed in the match has been analyzed. At that moment, Jin Wan suddenly rushed aggressively towards Marcel's position, but Marcel quickly subdued him, pressing Jin Wan's head into the ground. Seeing the situation resolved, Lena continued. Things like defense and evasion are additions he needs. His fighting style resembles an alien with regeneration abilities rather than a human, and that will surely be a fatal weakness in the next match. Marcel suddenly felt suspicious, looked up and asked, but hearing that I'm starting to think he's more like an alien than a human. Ma Jinwan, is he human? Lena squeezed her eyes shut. Waving her hand dismissively, she signaled, don't worry about that. He just acts like that. Genetically, he is 100% human. I checked thoroughly when I had the chance, just in case. Marcel quickly asked, Then why hasn't anything changed even though we passed the first preliminary round? Lena smiled confidently and replied, changes will happen gradually, don't worry. Principle of civilization advancement. Rule 1. The representative becomes a creature of the next level. Civilization after winning. Principle of civilization advancement. 2. Other members of the species except the representative do not immediately advance in civilization. Principle of civilization. Advancement 3. While the representative maintains the rank, the civilization gradually advances. In other words, the more matches the Earth representative wins, the more we can interpret rules that far exceed Earth's current scientific knowledge, and as a result we might be able to produce a miracle drug to save all of humanity on Earth. Suddenly a strange voice rang out. So the goal of this training is to improve Ma Jinwan's strength despite countless restrictions. Isn't that a bit strange? Then the training room door slowly opened, causing both of them to immediately freeze and turn around. The journalist walked in coyly and greeted, "Nice to meet you. I'm just an ordinary space reporter." Lena suspiciously asked, "You are an Inforian, right?" Marcel was surprised. An Inforian. Lena replied, "That's right. They are formidable people who can look into others' minds using that pen-like tool. You suddenly appear and say it's strange. What do you mean?" The journalist approached and replied, "I mean, your explanation just now was strange. That Earthling's limits have far exceeded a level 1 civilization. He is closer to a level 3 civilization. In that case, your current situation might be like this. If what you say is true, you should have felt changes as soon as Ma Jinwan was registered as the representative, but then, no signs at all, right? Perhaps this person is a separate entity from you all." Hearing this, Lena startled, wondering, "Wait, since when did she— Why don't I do this? I can verify his identity and let everyone know, and it will surely become a fatal weakness in the next match." As she spoke, the journalist approached Jinwan and pointed the pen at his face. But Marcel was quick-witted. He stepped in to stop her, grabbing Jinwan and pushing him away. With a tense face, he turned and said, "Back off, Inforian, we cannot trust you." Seeing Marcel's firm expression, the journalist thought, should I lure him to my place where I can remove the suppression collar and deal with him? No need to cause unnecessary trouble. There is plenty of time. Snapping out of her thoughts, the journalist fake giggled and said, "Fine then. I understand you can't trust an alien you just met, but if you want to know his real identity, find me anytime." Saying that, the journalist swallowed her anger and left. Then she slowly removed her mask, revealing a terrifying face that looked like a cockroach was stuck to it, and growled, "Anyway, I am curious about him. I am curious." After the journalist left, Marcel looked up and asked, "Team leader Lena, what do you think?" Lena, with a worried look, replied, "Maybe she was just talking nonsense about being interested in Ma Jinwan. Besides, we don't have any other choice, do we? Our job is to pin everything on this final hope and somehow make him win the next match. That's all." 15 days later at the arena, the familiar voice of the MC rang out again. "Now we will proceed with the second preliminary round, the match for Group 8. The first player entering is from a civilization ranked 5,830, a player who passed the first round in record time, a mysterious civilization species with the ability to control their own cosmos energy, a guardian deity protecting their planet by receiving energy from 400,000 of his kind. Representative of the transferee civilization Boken. Immediately after entering the arena, the giant Boken removed the shackles from his body. At the same time, the MC's voice rang out, "Look at those giant suppression rings used to restrain that player." The MC's voice made Boken even more excited. He looked up at the sky, growling and baring his sharp teeth to display his power. In the stands, Mark exclaimed in surprise, "Wow, this isn't a scene you see every day." Lena calmly said, "Don't worry, our side is the same." Mark, startled, glanced over and asked, "Huh? What do you mean?" Lena hummed and replied, "You'll see soon enough." Seeing Jinwan's silhouette stepping out, the MC introduced, and the opponent is none other than— Although coming from the lowest-ranked level 1 civilization, he achieved the feat of defeating Twinkies, the greatest metal manipulator in the universe. Looking at Jinwan in his miserable state with crippled limbs, the MC said in surprise, "Huh, why is he like that?" Lena smiled happily, turned to Mark and said, "See, didn't I tell you our side is quite eye-catching, too?" Mark tense reproached her. "No, how could you do that to our representative?" Lena confidently asserted, "Don't worry, injuries like this are nothing to him." On Jinwan's side, his necklace suddenly glowed brightly, and immediately after, the arm in the cast also slowly cracked open. Jinwan aggressively threw away the crutch he was using and walked with arrogance. Seeing the situation change, the MC's voice rang out, Ma Jinwan's suppression collar was also removed when he entered the arena. Marcel, witnessing that scene, couldn't help but exclaim in excitement, "Truly a respectable power." Then he raised his hand to cheer enthusiastically. "You can do it. Ma Jinwan, show us the results of your training." After hearing Marcel's words, Jinwan, feeling both embarrassed and angry, said, "You bastards dare to humiliate me like this. I will definitely kill them. However, since I promised I'll deal with this monster first, then kill them." Saying that, Jinwan raised his arm, rotated it a few times to warm up, and said, "Damn, it's still the same. Spiritual power has returned, but it's moving chaotically, so I can't use martial arts. Do I have to wait for the flow to recover again?" Suddenly in the stands, chants of "Guardian, Guardian" rang out continuously, making Jinwan startle and glance over. Up there, a group of fans was cheering, "Guardian, defeat him and protect our planet." Hearing those words, Boken was fired up, roaring even louder. Seeing that, Jinwan said in boredom, "What the hell are you screaming about?" "Hero who protects us from monsters. Planetary Guardian Boken." People in tribal outfits seemed to be looking forward to Boken's performance. The MC in the booth seemed impatient and mocked. "The cheering is still loud in the stands, but Boken hasn't made any significant moves yet." Mark, his mind still in turmoil, asked Lena, "Warrior with combat power equal to 1 billion people. Planetary Guardian, Guardian Deity. Those are all amazing titles, aren't they?" Lena analyzed. "Gosh, don't worry. It's just like Earth's strongest Marcel." Mark, feeling enlightened, clasped his hands and looked up at the sky, whispering, "Ah, so that's it." Beside him, Marcel, feeling targeted, showed dissatisfaction. But contrary to her confident appearance, Lena was anxious inside. "This opponent isn't easy to deal with. Those titles aren't exaggerations. Please let this go smoothly." In the adjacent stands, a fan suddenly leaned back to take a deep breath, screaming at the top of his lungs into a homemade megaphone, "Guardian, bring down divine punishment on the enemy." The sound from that megaphone was not to be underestimated. The scream echoed over to this side of the stands, causing Lena's group to panic, cover their heads and ears, and cry out. Lena, scowling, thought, "A roar that shakes the sky, so the battle has begun." Even Jinwan couldn't escape that sound. He just picked his ear and complained, "Truly a loudmouth. My eardrums almost burst."